from 11 to 150 every day, where you get to choose the tickers that we talk about. Neil and Sean are going to give you their review. But first, we're going to start looking at the futures. The Q's a little bit down, 0.5% in the negative side, also down since the open. It was interesting with the Mag 7 during the midday. A lot of them trying to recover. Apple seems to be the strongest of the bunch. But first on the list here is NVIDIA. Kramer says that this one could surpass Microsoft in terms of market cap, and we saw that this one actually broke that 1150 level ever so briefly, guys. What was the look on NVIDIA today?
Dog today. It's actually relatively, okay, the market's actually down, so technically speaking, NVIDIA is doing what the market is doing at this particular point. We'll get to GameStop's on the list at least, so NVIDIA, I had 2 breaks on NVIDIA, first one good, second one not. At least we got away from it. This was 1155, it was a triple top. You got to go back a third day, but you can see it. It tried to take it out twice. Once it did not do so, it was dump city on NVIDIA. So that 1155 does not hold. We're still heading downside. I have a kind of a related play, I suppose. It's a chip name play that we're on the offer to go short. It's a VWAP play, but NVIDIA, once it lost 1155, I'm not saying it's kaputs, but it's been a big rally, and for it to fail today, there's a lot of strength. This is once, twice. I call it 3 times. It's failing about 1150. As long as it holds higher lows, it's still a trend up, but that was a failed break 100% on this name. Micron, I'm trying to get short right now over underneath 129. If you're going to have some weakness relatively in the chips, this is one of the weaker ones, a little bit weaker than NVIDIA, obviously, down 2%. So I'm actually looking short this underneath some key support levels, but not a great look for NVIDIA today. This is the only day this week that I did not trade AMD, I just realized, and we're going to have that one second. But yeah, NVIDIA, failed break through 1155. First time was okay, but I think that makes the chips relatively weak as long as that doesn't pick up a little bit more. Is that a French fry? Okay.
Yeah, remember there was fries?
Yeah, but they didn't look that, I don't know, I didn't have
No, I didn't.
They didn't look that great. Were they any good? Yeah. They were? Okay. Usually they're not that crispy, that's my beef.
There we go.
Well,
all right.
if you see me eating some fries, then you know why.
I should show Randy. I mean,
probably not.
We just took $4.50 on Tesla. I mean, yeah, big time stink face at this stock today. I mean, we're long boom. We'll talk about Tesla in a couple minutes, of course. All right, so trade idea number 1 on the sticky note. NVIDIA didn't touch it today. Over to you, Sharif. No, I don't. Look, the same story is going to be true of this, and it's like I need to build a robot or something where I can just have more eyes, more everything. And actually, I should be talking to my kid because he could build this for me. I mean, look at NVIDIA. This is VWAP right there. Thank you. This is VWAP right there. This is VWAP right there. So, I mean, yeah, basically as perfect as could be today, I feel like. Plus, you had this support right there. If you know that NVIDIA is a down stock, you should have made money shorting this, but you had to have been looking at it. So it's just, if you like the short and something retraces to VWAP, those are the shorts. So NVIDIA, again, this sheep does, you know, the emperor does have clothing. This has been a big stock for a while, and it will get hit. It will get hit. It will retrace down 20, 30%. I mean, it did it right here. Like, this already went down 20%, you know, 22% to be exact, and that was in March. March 26th to April 22nd, April 19th. 3 weeks of trading, this name lost 20%. So, whoa. So it could easily happen again. And I think that that's possible, and I think it's possible pretty soon. Back to 950, 1,000. I'm still long the name, and there's no way I'm getting out of it, and I'm probably dead wrong. It's just, could it happen? Yes, it can. And why? Because it's pedigree. It does it all the time. You can go back and look back and forth. I don't think it should be a surprise. We're already in, and we're going to get to AMD in a minute, but AMD is already in that drawdown still.
Oh, yeah,
from the downside. So, I mean, that's 38% or something like that when we looked the last time. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, let's go back over to AMD. Today, wasn't on my watch, wasn't on a sticky note, neither of these. I thought we'd give it a little bit of a breather. Let's go find out what AMD is doing.
It's having a good day, Sean. As you just mentioned, there was about 1 3/4 to the high side, a little bit off that level right now. But The headline here is that big money options is betting heavily on AMD to be the next winner here. We know that the MI 300X is their response to the NVIDIA H100. So Benzinga reporting about 47% of their trades were bullish, while only 23% of these options contracts were actually put. So nice looking day for AMD today, guys. What was the look?
Look,
You have to keep going with it.
Like Micron already said that I didn't trade. This is the first day this week. Actually, it's not enough to say it's the first day this week that I didn't trade AMD. It's actually the first day probably in 2 or 3 weeks that didn't have a trade on AMD. But the look for it is, despite all that happened today, it's another close and hold above the 50 period on the daily. So if you eliminate all this mess and kind of look at what's been happening in this pullback, bounce shy of the 200, rounded bottom, higher lows, a lot of nonsense around the 165 price. Like you're closing above, you're closing below, you're above the 50 period, you're below it. But suddenly you have another day holding adjacent to 165. So another higher low. Every close above 165, I think it has a chance to break back out the top. I think it gets really exciting if it gets through 175. But for now, you're looking, that 50 period is almost on the daily on the SMA. It's almost like a bounce spot where you can look for dip buys on AMD. You heard me say that I'm preferring to fade Micron this afternoon. Well, AMD, you could say it's at resistance, but that's a strong stock near the highs. I'd much prefer, if I'm fading something, NVIDIA is underneath VWAP. Okay, Micron's starting to get away. But look at the things that are weak relative to AMD. AMD's performing much, much better than even NVIDIA is today. And I think it's because it's starting to hold at 50, and it's already done the pullback. Like Sean already said, like, it's done its move back down, so it doesn't take as much for it to bounce or hold some strength. There's already been a lot of selling in that stock.
I mean, you look at this stock here, and it's just like, this always, every day, this stock is really like, AMD is like my arch nemesis, because like we always look at it, and it's like always on our mind, and then we never trade it, and we look back. And I know 2 days ago we had 164 written down on our sticky note. 164, 166, these levels were the ones that we were looking at. Came in again today, but again, very, very choppy, then breaking. The only thing I could say is this has happened again right there. It's these 8 a.m. sort of dark pools that just happen for minutes and minutes and minutes, for some reason, again, calling that bottom there. So, playing off of dips, we got to remember to do that, especially on strong names. The chip names are what people are looking at now. We already talked about NVIDIA. No matter what AMD is doing, I still like the long, as long as it's above this 160 area, and we've talked about that. So long above 160, short below it. It's pretty easy trade. Hopefully I don't miss this again. Oh no, Eduardo, now you're gonna talk to me about Microsoft in the chat? No, I'm gonna do this rundown. At least Tesla, we got this. Let's go over to the professor over there, learn a little bit about Tesla, and then the student will show you the trade that he put on.
I don't know about that, Sean. Other way around. But yeah, Tesla having an interesting day today. It's positive. We traded this one on the midday, Adair and I. The headline, though, guys, is that they're releasing FSD, full self-drive in China, but it's not in the way that they're releasing it in North America. It's going to come as a SaaS, software as a service, to the tune of about $98 a month there, whatever the equivalence is in yuan. Anyway, having a great day today, up almost 2%. Definitely defended those levels. What was the look, guys?
We're trying to do this better, and we are doing it better now, and it's been a good change. We've always hit the sticky note up, but there it is, Tesla, full self-drive. We talked about it early, we talked about it often, and we have the trade. We just believed in it, and I was talking with Big Patty Ice back there about believing in your trades and everything, and it's just that's what it was. We just believed in this trade. Did it go against us at 178? Yes, it did early. But you know what? It went against us 50 cents. Our bid there was 177.37, so we were willing to hold this about $1. Obviously, we wound up taking, our highest is 181.07. So we had it there. It fell in. We were buying it. It's just, I don't know. To me, those levels made sense. There it is, back into yesterday afternoon where we had this. And then, by the way, we nailed Tesla the day before on this short as well, off of day's high levels. So it was actually in the afternoon right there. So I think like Tesla just gonna keep on doing this, watch out for key levels. Then it came into 175. We lost in here. So we definitely lost when it came back, and then we made money first time, and then we lost when it bounced there. But then we just stuck with it again, and we wound up taking this 175 long. And now we still have a piece of it. So it's gonna be by far, it's not gonna be the #1 P&L stock for me all month today, but it's up there. It's gonna be like a top 5 P&L name based on all these trades I'm showing you here for me on the month. So again, I stuck with the plan. We also have Palantir. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. But Tesla today, the fact that we held some there, held some here, it's really been a changer for me. So there it is, Tesla, a big stock today, and my #1 trade.
Yeah, I love it, and it's a great trade. And the best part about Tesla today was it gave you multiple opportunities. Maybe some that were a little unexpected. I mean, did we really think we'd see 175 today? My distinct answer is no, I didn't think we'd see 175 today, but it did happen, and you had to adjust when it did. But also different styles came into play too, because as far as I'm concerned, on that initial dip at 180, 178, it bounced and gave you almost 179. And then it came back a second time, and on the second time, it just couldn't hold down there. So when this was breaking down, I was gonna look for something probably if it had gone 175, maybe if it had gone 177, but I got out, you know, that's not holding 178 in my mind, and then when it did, like, suck it up, Buttercup, 180 was also a breakout. So we like 2 levels on Tesla. It was 75 was something we've been talking about. I just had no reason to put that on the note today thinking we'd get down there. But the 180 level was the other one on this 15-minute. This was the other top. Like, well, if it takes that breakout, I like the news, we're taking that break too. I like to go station to station. That goes here to here. When it wicked that top, that's an easy out for me. And then we tried to get 178 again. That didn't work. I'm stopping out under 178. And when we saw 75, we took a couple of shots at it. At that point, I'm looking at it, this is a weak name. So when it comes back into the open range bottom, I'm covering out in front of it. But again, that's just a different style. The same thing that gets me out here is what gets me out here. You've got to understand your style. If I'm holding a bunch for back into 178 and 180, I'm probably also holding this trade up here as well. So you got to stick to your style. Oh, GameStop, we'll just get to that. That just lost, well, we'll talk about GameStop, but it just lost 22. Although it's still in the midst of a breakout, GME. Let's go to Sharif.
Yeah, right on, Neil. And GameStop, the next one, no specific catalyst for this one, but it should be noted that AMC is red and GameStop is green. Yeah, our sponsor Vantage Point actually predicted that GameStop would break out a cool week before the actual breakout happened using AI-driven software. So if you're interested, give them a look. But GameStop, we talked about this one on the midday Hatter Trade Show. Coming off a little bit right now, Neil, what's your look?
I'm trying to, there was something on AMC this morning, whatever, it doesn't really matter, but I thought I saw something on AMC this morning. Again, we're talking GameStop, but I'm not gonna bother. If I can't find it in 2 seconds, we're not talking about AMC. Look, GameStop, sometimes it's the day that no one's paying attention that it does the best, and with so many, like you had UiPath and CRM, and there's so many earnings plays, and the chips and all that stuff was happening, and Tesla was going nuts. So a lot of people probably weren't paying as much attention to GameStop. To see it bounce off at 20, I know I didn't. Let's be real. You know we were looking at Tesla at the open, so we're not seeing this get to $20. And then it puts in higher, low, higher, low. Eventually, we did say we'd take a breakout in GameStop, and this was a lesson of the day, like execution plan. Because at that point, I was favoring a dip buy instead of the break, so I let it break the top and then bought the dip. It's just a matter of personal preference. We just had a long, again, a similar one, a dip buy that doesn't hold 22, but it's very much trend up. And as long as this one wants to hold a trend into the upside, it can probably be down at 2150, if not testing VWAP. And I think I'll look for maybe some afternoon plays on GME. On that higher time frame, keep in perspective what's happened. You had the first rally in the meme craze, which was, it's hard to tell on the daily because there was so much movement, but it was like $11. And then it started picking up in volume, topped out right about here. Your best close was $18. That was the first move. And then you had all that craziness happen for a couple of days when it went to $80. The higher low got put in at 18, and now another higher low is being put in at 20. So this is like the secondary rally for GameStop, and it's put in another higher low. So if it can hold on to the trend, I want to be looking for longs at least until, I mean, if it fails at 26, 27 again, I think you put a kaputs in that one. But nice little rally for GameStop, another higher low. The meme craze is slower, but this stock is very much in play, especially when you get those wipeout bottoms like that. What a clean bounce off 20 that ended up being.
Oh, man. Agreed. I just wanted to, we've been looking at 20 for a minute. I mean, for me just to go over and say the same levels. Look, Palantir is another one of those stocks where I really think you could get some big movement on. We didn't get out up here at 2190. I was going to get out if we broke 2180. I moved it down here to 2160 back at the 200 period. We are still long 20% of this trade down here on Palantir as we try to break back below. I'm going to get out of this if this happens. Basically, I'm going to cost myself 20 cents, hoping that we held there and this 200 period. If we break lower, we break lower. That is honestly what it is. So we already got a piece out of Tesla. Let's go back over to the screen and wrap this up with Amazon.
Yeah, I traded this one a bunch of times today on the midday and the sim, of course. But this one did actually have a catalyst that I was really interested in. Anybody knows I like these eVTOLs. Extends to drone as well, especially if you can get your deliveries vis-a-vis a drone. That was the headline today, expanding their clearance with the FAA for drone delivery. Still, it's in its infancy, though, guys. Down 1 1/3% today. Definitely had trouble with 180 from what I remember. What was your look?
Was the look that we had. I mean, 180 is trade. I mean, we talk about how my number one P&L name is going to be Tesla off of Trade Idea 1 year. Trade Idea 2 is actually Amazon, so make sure that you guys check out that. And it was 180. And same thing, big level holding, drone news, monthly support. You could go all the way back, all of May, we haven't broken. So I like that 180 level, and here it is right here. So we say thank you for this one, and we were spending the money all morning. One fill down there at 180.20, bounced all the way back to VWAP 181. That was basically the end of the trade. It fell right back in, and we danced with it again at 180. We still stay green on the name, but with this market starting to go lower and VWAP again being pretty key there on a negative level. Yeah, nice move down in right there today. Tonight we have Costco, so we're getting another retail name coming through tonight. You're going to probably see a strong consumer from Costco. So I would expect Amazon to get bumped up a little bit tomorrow. I think it's probably a decent swing play with Costco earnings on board. But if something happens to Costco, then it's a different story. We've been looking short on Amazon for a minute, and we want to buy some of these dips. It's been down like 9 of the last 12 days or something. So there it goes, little bit of a couple green candles in there, but Amazon has been really getting hurt here. Underneath the 50 period, it's not dramatic because they don't have that whoosh day, but that whoosh day is coming, and when it does, I think I want to buy this, 165-ish, want to stay in this name, but Amazon, weaker than I thought today. Our initial thought was the dip buy. I wish we would have been short. Like, I wish I would have wrote on here short 180 instead, because I feel like we would have made more money, but still a positive name, happy with it. It's Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to add. It wasn't on my list today. About the only thing I would say for this is I'd like to be short VWAP on it this afternoon. I mean, it's a trend down into what was a pretty decent bounce in the market. And there's names that have bounced. I mean, Palantir's an example. I did cover Palantir, but I wasn't in as early as you. But there's stocks that are trending up and there's stocks that are trending down. Amazon's underneath VWAP. It's trending to the downside. It's got a flat bottom with lower highs, so I will look to ideally short this off VWAP. I don't know why I still have that order. It's when I thought it had a chance to maybe get up to like 180.5. I like Amazon. It's just, it's rolling very slowly over from that double top at 190. Like, we could have joked about this. Oh, there he is, a little preview action. Little preview action. He's sipping the drink. He's got the Yeti. He's locked and loaded. You guys know Raiders going to be in the house, but yeah.
Oh, Raiders coming here again? Okay.
Yeah, well, they flashed the shot for a flip
Bring him
second.
on now. What are we waiting for? Is he
Look,
ready?
I think he's ready.
Let's go. I want to talk to this guy right here. Because where's my Yeti? I didn't bring my Yeti. Yo, Andrew, you ready? Is he ready to go? In a minute. I jumped the gun there. You know, our production team, you know, they're ready to go. I just get excited, you know. We got Raider Trader coming
Did
through.
they just
I mean,
speak in Unity? Because I didn't hear anything.
I don't hear anything either. Are you ready to go, Ram?
Oh, okay.
All right. We'll wait. All right, so for right now, just quickly, Palantir here, nice move back up. We bounced off the 200 period moving average. So I do like that move right there at 2160. Nice little take there if you took the 200 period. We did not get stopped out, but we told you we're close. A break of 60 and we were gone. So that was a little bit of a save right there. All right, then we have Tesla. This long, we believed in this all day. It was a great trade. We'll still wait to see where Tesla's going from here right now. And then the other one I wanted to look at that we hadn't looked at all day actually was Alibaba. I mean, Alibaba came in last week to the downside pretty aggressively. You know, we were above, weren't we above 90 or yeah, close enough to 90 there. And then this fall last week for Alibaba, trying to find a base in and around 78, 78.50. So this is a name that I want to look at as well. We did get that little China scare, which got me out of Apple early, which was a big, huge mistake on that one when we thought maybe some Taiwan stuff happening with Apple.
Oh, speaking of, have you seen NEO today?
No.
So I feel like this might be the stock that it's not often that a usually popular stock does almost double digits to the upside, and I feel like we didn't really go over it. And I'm surprised that if it's something we don't talk about and it's going ham, I usually think that's going to get a bunch of votes when we do this segment. But NIO up 9%. That's the good news. The bad news is you can barely see that on the daily chart. And when you have a 9% gain and it's like a little tiny blip like that, it's not that much to get excited about. However, there's a but here. Holding the 50, back above 5 even. I still think, probably the last time I talked about this, I'm almost certain I would have said $7 break. You know, if it can get above there, fantastic. Maybe even like it's 635 or something like that in here that could make a bit of a break as well. So you got some levels incoming on NIO that can be spicy, all of which are still another 20% away. But the good thing about a stock being cheap is big percentage gains are easier. It's a heck of a lot easier for NEO to go 9% than it is for, say, NVIDIA to go 9%. I know that's an obvious thing to say,
right,
but sometimes it bears mentioning. So you don't want to sleep on this break in 6 at some point. You know, it's back into, I guess, fun zone. If it's going back up, it's made a rounded bottom. There's a higher low in there. I think this, you know, Rivian's done a similar thing as well, so that can be a little bit of a fun one. I did jump in on the back end of GameStop here. We sat in front of 22, which that's not usually where we want to dip by. We let it dip first and then get it on the way back up. So let it dip first and get it on the way back up. Let's see if we can get to the highs. And just because I mentioned AMC compared to GameStop, one of these things is not like the other. And it really does bear mentioning. AMC, if you were just trading this stock, you'd probably just be scalping it every single time you find previous support that turns into resistance, because that pattern has been absolute gold. Support, resistance underneath, support, resistance underneath, and just short the you-know-what out of it. But GameStop's certainly going. And now we are ready for our for Raider Trader in the building. I know you're excited. Let's see what's up with our buddy.
There he is.
There he is.
So I'm sitting here eating my favorite snack, pineapples, and I'm just wondering, where's the pizza? Because I don't see one around here. So I figured one of you two would like that.
I would, but why don't you just pick up your cell phone, my guy? You could just order a pizza. I mean, it's pretty easy to solve that problem. But I mean, I get it. I like pineapple too. Hey, give me your second favorite fruit.
My favorite fruit is probably pears.
Okay.
Or I like a good blackberry that's like just juicy. It explodes in your mouth. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever frozen like blueberries or blackberries? That's
raspberries. I had raspberries. They were amazing frozen.
Hey, how's your Stanley there?
So my Stanley, which will soon be spray painted pink, just because you guys were making fun of it. It's doing good. It's pretty cold.
Yeah.
I didn't make fun of it. What?
Oh, you know what I got to send you?
Nobody.
You know what I got to send you? One of these Trader TV water bottle things.
That's what.
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
We'll put Stanley right on the top.
We can put it on our desk. No, we're not sponsored. We're not sponsored by Stanley. Let's slow that down a little bit there. Okay. So hey, what a wild week so far here, right? I mean, now we're moving around. Market seems like we may be heading for a little bit of a downside move there. Amazon has continued its move down. We have Costco on deck. Any sort of ideas there about Amazon? I'm trying to get short as we speak right now. We did have a long off 180. I like the break lower here. Any takes quickly on Amazon?
Yeah, you know what? Amazon was one of the weaker of the large slash mega caps. One of the most important things that I've been looking at, which of course maybe you guys have seen, is Apple recently. The strength in these mega caps. I mean, Tesla, Apple, Netflix, Meta. These guys are incredibly strong right now. But what's concerning is market tops. Typically, the mega caps do perform better. So this might be just the breakdown here to 508, 520 that we see in the overall markets on SPY, etc. But right now, it's so indecisive, this market. It's just going to go either way. I'm thinking that next week, June 6th or 7th, typically around 2 weeks before quad witching, which is on the 21st. As you guys know, major expiration date, lots of money moving. Around typically 2 weeks before, you get a pivot of some sort. So whether that's up or down, if you guys want to save a trade till then, it's probably just going to be a headache into next week. But pretty concerning across the board when mega caps are outperforming this well.
Oh, no doubt about it. But
Amazon still to the downside. Yeah, absolutely. I don't like that one.
So look, we've seen a lot of crazy things happening in the last couple of days, Andrew, and I'm curious your take, because earnings season has had some ridiculous moves. Now, CRM obviously got smashed today, no question about that. You had Kohl's got smoked as well. I mean, you had UiPath, which got absolutely destroyed, down 30%. What's your take on earnings plays? I know you do a lot of swinging, big cap, you like to look at the SPY, but with moves like this, do you look for swings? Sorry, I have AMC still up there, and I meant to put path and didn't hit enter. Like, do you take occasionally swings at stocks that have moves like this if you can find a little something? Because I heard many people saying, "Oh my goodness, I like a swing on path to catch these bottoms." CRM with these massive moves. What's your take on earnings? You just stick in your lane with big caps, or do you ever have a gander at something like this and wonder if you can take a shot?
Let me tell you, I take a lot of ganders, and gandering is one of my favorite words. But as far as earnings, I have a few different strategies that I like to take, a few different angles when it comes to earnings seasons, and maybe you guys can deploy this at home, whatever. But normally the idea with earnings is that you want to only play the ones that are highly anticipated. So you don't want to play names that are just, random, some ticker you don't even know of, because the odds of that moving even beyond expectations, because we ultimately want to see a beyond expectation move. For example, I had Foot Locker calls, retail stores, Dick's, some of these other guys, Best Buy even had a big pump. A lot of these different guys within XRT, they had a lot of optimism with them. And Foot Locker was one of those names that's beaten down. It sold off into the earnings. And it's one of those that you can just give it a shot. Now, whether you play a straddle, strangle, that's up to your risk management. Maybe, hey, I play this after earnings. I've done a lot of after earnings swings before because I didn't want to gamble into it. So when you see that big gap up like today on Foot Locker, you could go, okay, market's gapping down, Foot Locker's gapping up. Probably the continuation trade is the better one here if the markets don't really sell off that hard. So this was one of those cases. I saw Sean or one of you was playing PLTR long, I believe. That's another one that gapped up while the markets gapped down. That's a beautiful long trade when it comes to relative strength, like we talked about last time.
Actually, both like Palantir. It was separate trades, but they're both fantastic. Now, Foot Locker, I mean, obviously that's a big time gap, no question about it. Like what?
Right. Yeah.
It's 11% short float, and I'm just sort of wondering, like a lot of these retail names have a big short. Is that something that matters to you? Like I know the people that trade Foot Locker on this floor probably are not looking at it whatsoever if it wasn't for double-digit short float. Do you screen for that? Is that a reason why you like that one over maybe something else?
As far as short float, I don't really pay attention to that because ultimately short float is really gonna only be there if like, hey, this is a massive, massive move. I just want to beat expectations. With short float, it kind of makes it tricky for me because as an options trader, regardless of whether I can long it or not, things are going to get expensive after earnings. So me participating after that even is just difficult. So as far as that, I don't look at that. What I normally look at for earnings is number one, is this name kind of a part of the crowd right now? Or is the crowd of the market chaining its name right now? And that is with retail names, which have been on hot watch for a while now. Other names such as Solars, those are going to be very, spicy into earnings, which are coming up. different names that are in this market, semiconductors as well. You know, NVIDIA, ARM, these guys have been having massive moves recently. But for earnings, no, I don't look at that. What I look at is just, is this a stock that can break expectations? And if so, is there a trade into it? Oftentimes, the better one is not buying the day before. It is actually playing the earnings run up. The IV juice is what I call it, where markets, similar to Sean going to a hockey game, he sells out the crowd when he's there, right? And so tickets are going to be extremely expensive when he's there. So it's going to get more expensive to participate the more people that buy into this earnings. So you actually get a run up, even if the stock doesn't even go up that much in your contracts. So you can be up into the earnings a significant amount, 100, 200% even, just by people participating. So that's kind of cool. It's called an IV run up. You guys might be aware of that, but
I really have
Great
to
look.
appreciate the due diligence this guy's doing. I really have to appreciate.
I researched a lot. Sean, you sell out like every crowd you go to in the building.
I was gonna say that's a lot of due diligence, and I appreciate that, man. I really feel like you're leveling your game up, and that is the best. Look, last week we talked about JP Morgan a little bit. We talked about potential weakness in some of the banks. I tend to agree with you here. I mean, on the daily chart, it seems like we can't get above this $200 level. I mean, we're right there right now. Nice little move up there into 207, then the fail back into the 50-period moving average. Major ETFs, KBE or XLF, also kind of showing some weakness, in my opinion anyways. Morgan Stanley's been doing okay. Some of the banks obviously outperforming others. But these ETFs, to me, tell a story. Basically a double top up here. I feel like we can head lower. We're under the 50-period moving average. Just to go back to what you said last week, give you credit, you talked about some weakness in the banks, and that's definitely paid off. So what are you thinking now? Is it maybe time to potentially take some of this off? We have fallen back into the 50 period. And again, last time you were up here, last time you were on, we were up here. So it has fallen back. It's just a couple bucks, but still, some weakness coming in the banks. I think we can retrace lower. Any takes right now on any major names in this sector?
Banks definitely. One of the weaker names have been regional banks. Those have been getting slaughtered the last few weeks, even ahead of the market. One of the most concerning things with the markets, of course, right now is June is going to be I think middle of June is when the Fed come in and talk about the future of the markets. Now, right now, the September rate cut is kind of in the picture. And typically 2 months before, you see rate sensitive stocks start to get a run up. But these aren't necessarily banks. And banks are actually suffering right now. Mega caps are outperforming. And if you've looked at copper has been tanking, which are all kind of negative signs for the economy. I'm wondering now if we are starting to enter a phase, because markets move for a reason. If we're actually pricing in some sort of recessionary move or some mistake from the Fed, something like that. And so weakness is definitely still on the table. I'm not going to take that off. I've been kind of 50-50 on which side to take. I've been just playing simple breakout setups, etc. But right now with banks, definitely JPM, Citigroup, Citadel, BAC, Bank of America, all these different guys are extremely weak relative to the markets, and I think those are going to be the better names to keep shorting. But yeah, as far as that, it's going to be a tricky one the next few months. But it's all over the place.
Hey, what do you got in there? Some little bit of water action going on there? You got some iced tea? What's going on over there?
So for legal reasons, I don't actually show what's in my drink. No, I'm kidding. It's water.
Water, okay.
So you say.
What would be the legal reasons for that exactly? Okay, so here we go. Give me something else you're looking at. I mean, we've had a downside move today in Salesforce. That would be something maybe. I don't like to buy stock off. I mean, here's the move here. If you come over to my screen, Ramin will have that up in a second. Salesforce down today. Wow, even more now. Okay, down 22%. Again, a name that's just been getting hit here. Software as service with AI. I thought they had a good opportunity to come through and beat, but I guess not. What is your take here when you're looking at a name that gets beat up like this so much? Is this something that, hey, now it's going to be too expensive to play options, and you just kind of wait for it to settle down and then maybe play the pullback up? Or is this something now where you won't look long at all? You'll just maybe be looking short in a name? Or how do you play a major cap name like Salesforce that misses on such a big release like this?
Yeah, so certainly, I mean, CRM also pulled Adobe down with it, ADBE. But as far as how I play those, whenever I see a huge move like that, the opportunity for me is gone. Not only is it more expensive, but even for you equity traders, it gets tough to play because, well, after expansion comes contraction. And is that really what I wanted to play? Do I want to play into a contraction? And that's not saying it can't just V shape or keep moving with extreme ranges.
Right.
But as far as what I'm saying is, is there a better opportunity? You've already gone down 20%. You've gone beyond the extreme deviation in the market, where once you extend past a certain point, lunacy starts to enter. And it's not just, crazy people entering, but it's also a period where the market makers have to do very crazy things when it comes to, trapping people and rebalancing. And so it's just not a risk to reward for me there. But as far as trades I'm looking at right now,
Yeah.
LLY long, I actually
Okay.
like this one to the upside. This one's very strong relative to the market. And if we can get a rally tomorrow in the markets, maybe a nice surprise Friday gap up and explosion higher, just a few dollars or so. I like LLY. This one's closing at the high. And again, we talk about relative strength. Which one is going to be the better names to long? It's going to be those stronger names, as that's not only your defense, but also your offense. It's going to go down less, but it's also going to go up more if the markets do reward you. So this is a really nice one. Any break above 819.18 for equity. Right now, I'm holding just options for tomorrow, but that's a good one I like to the upside.
Yeah, there's Raider Trader. There's something that we do on the show. Hit that word of the day thing. Here we go. Watch this, Andrew. There we go.
Word of the day. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
No, today it belongs to you because you just said lunacy. So I mean that's good. I'm happy with that word.
Lunacy.
So,
yeah.
There you go. You have been now awarded.
Thank you. Thank you.
The official word of the day.
It's a rite of passage.
It is. So there you go. So now you're cool with
Should
us.
I define lunacy for you guys?
Well, actually,
Please do not.
Oh, go for it. But there's like a million examples last 2 days. But go for it.
Okay, lunacy. Neil not liking pineapples on pizza.
Okay.
Noun.
Okay. There you go.
Logic. That's what that is.
There you go.
You know what? One of these days, next time you come on, how about we think of we'll think of some kind of a side bet that we can do. But I would say if I didn't like,
why don't we pick a stock?
I own Eli Lilly and love them. If I didn't like Eli Lilly, then I would just take the other side, and then like next week, I don't know what you hate, but then I could eat pineapple pizza or slice. I'm not gonna eat the whole thing. That's disgusting. And then you got to tell me like what's a food that you can't stand, but legitimately.
Onions or olives. Those are the two grossest foods I've ever experienced in my life. Okay, baked beans, but I would.
Yo, my guy,
I would
say you don't
I
like
would hang
olives?
the shirt up before I ever ate baked.
So hold on, let me get this. Hold on, can I get this straight for a second?
I feel like Don King up in here.
So you like pineapple on pizza, but one of the best toppings for a pizza, like olives, which is very traditional, and obviously I'm not an expert, but I know some Italians. I don't know.
I'm not.
Who
I have to
there might be.
regroup.
So look, now you're gonna have to eat a slice of pizza with. We'll just do only olives. How about that?
I'll eat it with pineapple and olives. I'm not
Just
playing
the
around.
slimy texture, the aftertaste. It's.
You
I
can put olives
apologize
in front of me. I'll eat them.
I
all
apologize to all of our Greek viewers and everything like that, and
everybody.
people with palates and everything, because I just apologize. I just apologize, Greek viewers. We're having too much fun with you, Andrew. This is why, honestly, there's no better show.
Yeah,
thank you for coming on. Every time you're on, you put on a great show for everybody, and you bring us some great trades as well. So why don't we say where can everybody find you before we let you go here? What have you been working on? Anything cool coming up for Mr. Raider Trader?
Sure. So last time I said you could find me on Wall Street. Now you can find me in the Detroit, rolling up in the big caddy with 32-inch rims. Big subwoofers playing, of course, Sean's mixtape that he hasn't dropped yet, but we will soon.
Don't tell people about that.
Okay, my bad. So featuring Neil, by the way. But no, you guys can just find me on Instagram, Raider Trader. As far as the project, I've been working on just kind of financial reporting. So I've been doing a lot of data. So that's called the Raider Report. It's pretty cool. You guys can go check it out. But it's just something I've been working on. It's kind of like my life's work, kind of organizing all my trade ideas and information data I find in the market. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, that's just a fun little project I'm doing. And I know you guys are working on, of course, this is just as awesome. So
awesome.
Well, thank you for the compliment. And we'll come up with an actual reasonable bet, because I'm not betting against Eli Lilly. That's just, I like them too much, and I agree with you. It could be in the midst of a breakup. But the second we can find something where we'll take the other side, I don't mind. I don't even have to like the stock. If I just think it's a reasonable proposition, it would just be fun for the viewers.
Yeah.
And
okay.
How you don't like olives, it's a weird one, but hey, everyone's got to be different.
Yeah,
So we'll do the pineapple on pizza if we can find some kind of a bet there.
And I know now the streets are waiting for the mixtape, so it drops later in the summer. So thanks for bringing that up.
Featuring Neil, Sean, and Big
There
Rig,
could be a
so.
there could be a spot there for you as well. Just send me some bars and we'll figure it all
Okay.
out. So.
back up
All right. Thank you. It's Raider Trader. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Ciao, my friend.
Bye, guys.
See ya. All right. Who is that guy, anyways? By the way.
So much fun as always. When he said lunacy, there's a couple. I wanted to say some examples. Cause I'm like, well, lunacy is A&F's chart yesterday.
Right.
Lunacy is but good lunacy was A&F's chart yesterday. Lunacy is First Solar's chart. DELL the last.
Oh, we got some fries from Randy.
DELL going into earnings. I've been munching on them a little bit. Thank you to Randy for that. DELL going into earnings has been some lunacy. Obviously, we talked about the names that got beaten to the downside. Kava is lunacy. Down 10% on earnings, trap everybody, and then look at the long 2 days in a row. And look at where this broke from in the morning. Another 8% for Kava today. That stock is on an absolute tear.
Yeah.
It's super hot fire. By the way, I did just scalp out of, during the interview, I dip bought on GME. It started to really stall at 22.40. So it's starting to run out of steam here. The volume's really tapering off. So we just got in and out, 96 long, some out at 14s, and then got the rest of it out at 22.35. Still no shorting opportunity in Micron or Amazon just yet, but we are looking to fade those relatively weak names. Don't know why I'm going to the pink sheets for Micron. It's not going there.
All right. Yeah. Micron was one of those names that I didn't look really. I was going to look at SMH maybe.
What? What?
The thing about Kava is I actually wanted to buy some of that stock because of what Chipotle had done. And now Chipotle is splitting again up at 3,200. So our last out on Tesla, I'm just looking at it over here. Out on Tesla was 180. We got 179.80s there. So it's that top was right, and we can zoom in again to see it. Was right there. So we had that top. We were waiting for a 180 break. Once it didn't break, we actually punched out of it on the. This was not getting it on the way up. This was on the way down because we did get close to 180 there and then failed it. We did come back up. I was not going to take another piece out. We don't have a huge piece on. It's $4 in the money. So we're going to have to wait to see if Tesla can settle down. I do want to grab that trade back in. And by the way, we go from Raider Trader over to Frank Caberna pretty soon. So things will get changed up just a little bit there from that one to the next. And that just shows, again, what we're offering here on the show. I mean, again, fresh take there with Andrew, and then we'll dig into some more of the macro and rates, yields, dollars, things like that with Frank, as you guys all know from IG, and we'll get that up in a couple of seconds when he's coming through. All right, so those are those trades. Now, Apple, I got scared away from Apple earlier, like really stupidly, obviously, because I had thought that we were, and Apple's still nice, but we were long here at 191. I really like the trade. By the way, thanks, Randy. What are you doing? I want to have some more here. Don't take them away. Isn't there more back there?
I was going to say, like, there's probably plenty back.
Just take the ones you gave us. All right.
That's fun.
So, anyways, we were long 191. Then we heard about some of that rumor there about China and Taiwan, and it wasn't. I don't even know. Adair didn't confirm it. It was nothing, apparently. So I got out of Apple there for flat, which kind of sucked because then minutes late, like as it was coming down, this is when I'm hearing this. I'm like, okay. So we get a piece out there. All right. And then we wind up getting it out for flat, and then it booms to the upside. But look what happened. We shorted more, and then we were able to get 191 anyways out of that short. So we're able to make a little bit of money there. Now, okay, just before we came on, we should still be short Apple, but unfortunately, it just goes up and we get the high of the day. So congratulations for whoever made some off of me right there. I mean, the market's a thing. I probably hit a dark pool. But anyways, all the way to the downside right there, retraces right back to VWAP. So we got it good, but it was misunderstood. And it fell all the way back into 191.40 again. So that should have been a decent winner. We would have covered lots here. We would have got the majority out, probably right here, then the 50, then VWAP. So, I mean, you could see that's the way we're doing it. We would have pieced it out Apple, I still like to short if it comes back up to 192, if that happens when we're with Frank, who, of course,
Mayo.
you know, we did the White Sox a favor. We talked about this with Frank before. They should lose. That's the strategy. It's not the NBA or anything. You're not, you know, but you're still going to get a guy.
Dude, no, there is a dude who is his name,
Right.
I think Charlie Condon, and he's a college player. He is an absolute no-brainer #1 pick. So Frank, the White Sox do want to finish dead last.
There you go. So there you go, Frank. You're welcome. You see what I mean?
Question.
Here in Toronto, people think Canadians super nice and all this kind of stuff.
We are nice.
Yes, we are. We gave the Knicks OG Anunoby for nothing. Well, we got RJ Barrett and, Emmanuel Quickly.
No, we shouldn't have been that nice.
He's nicer than we thought. And then we gave Siakam for, I think it was a bag of balls and I think 2 nets, maybe a rim to Indiana. And you saw they did pretty good too. But at the end of the day, man, we still want to win at some point.
We're not winning. The Raptors aren't winning anything.
The Raptors, I don't know which. You know what? The sad thing is that of all the franchises, the Raptors are probably the closest.
What about the Toronto Rock, our lacrosse team? No, the crazy thing is the women's hockey team.
My bad.
They missed.
The women's hockey team was number 1.
They were great, but then they didn't get to the final. Our lacrosse team was also #1, and they lost before getting to the finals. Like literally every Toronto.
You want to talk about statistically? How many teams are there in the WNBA? Even though we don't even have one, and they're coming in 2026.
We're winning a ship.
They still have better odds than the Jays, the Leafs, and the Raptors of winning because I think there's less teams.
We'll win the ship
In the Who will?
When
the WNBA,
when Toronto gets a team, I'm going to tell you they will win a championship within a decade, within 5 years probably. Like it's just.
I'm not sure how many
there's going
teams
to be a lot
there
of
are,
passion.
though.
There's not a lot of teams though, but it is 2:45.
Oh, good.
Mr. Caberna is in the house. I'm going to try to buy a dip in GameStop because it's getting to the top again. But let's get to Frank. He's on time.
Just real quick, guys, before we do that, Merck just did that. MRK, big move down here. There was a trial, data coming back from one of their trials that came out to the wrong side, obviously. I'm not even going to attempt the name of this drug, but it's not good. So just be aware. MRK, huge move to the downside right now. I mean, it's still flying around here, very, very volatile, around 125 for Merck. There he is, Mr. Caverna, back with us once again. Busy day. A lot to digest here, not only on the Fed speak side, but this GDP print from this morning. Frank, I want to get your opinion here. It's downside, but I mean, the market is supposed to like that, no?
Yeah, and while we're digesting that, the boys over there can digest the Chicago Sky one in 2021. So, yeah, take that. Anyways, yeah, all of our teams are pretty brutal in Chicago at the moment. But I'll take, WNBA title in 2021, just a couple of years ago. Anyways, the number this morning, I mean, saw some reaction off of it. Definitely some weakness in US dollar, weakness in US rates, but not really the reaction you might have hoped for in the stock market with those moves. And yeah, just quickly on the interest rate environment, because I think this will be especially interesting when we start to talk inflation that'll come out tomorrow morning. But rates moving a little bit lower from their highs, but still in that territory that we got to a couple months ago. I know you and I jumped on here, I believe it was, March, April range when interest rates were really running up and they were really pricing out those rate cuts. And rates backed off in the last handful of weeks as they priced back in 2 to 3 cuts. Now we're back near those highs, back to a significant chance of no cuts. The 10-year here is right around 4.6%. The highest that it got here this year was around 4.7%. So really just 1 day's worth of upside, especially after a number like PCE inflation, or next week with non-farm, or the week following with CPI, and obviously the FOMC, very close to those year-to-date highs. And you'll remember the 10-year got right up to 5% last year at the height of some of the inflation not dissipating fear that we saw then, before coming off significantly from there. And so just interesting that that's the backdrop for the GDP number and the PCE numbers tomorrow, which is pricing out the rate cuts, maybe only 1 or 2 this year, and treasury yields back towards their highs. 2 years also very close to 5%, trading right around 5%. And so, yeah, one of the more hawkish backdrops that we've gotten in recent memory for the PCE inflation that will come out tomorrow. But the GDP that came out today, revising this current quarterly estimate that we'll get, I believe, the final number on next month, down even further. Last month, it was revised down to 1.7%. This month, it's revised down to 1.3%, which would be the lowest quarter over quarter GDP growth rate in the US since the second quarter of 2022, which is fairly significant. And really for the interest rate environment and that US dollar environment, but then also as a tier 2 mover, the stock market as well, because, you know, the GDP growth and the employment data has been data that Powell has been able to lean up against in terms of his higher interest rates for longer rhetoric that he's been on for the last handful of months. Now, with weaker GDP data and potentially another week, we'll see what happens. Non-farm that'll come out next week. But remember that most recent number was one of the weakest non-farm numbers that we've had in recent memory. If those numbers are slipping, then he can't necessarily be so confident in higher interest rates for longer. And maybe you and I have talked about this, and it might seem like, you know, such a nitpicking, lame conversation of like, do they really want 2% inflation, or do they want 2.3%, or is 2.5% okay? And people are like, what are these, you know, why do these guys care about what exact inflation it is? And that's because we're getting into those mid twos, and we'll see what PCE prints tomorrow. And he could have been more aggressive with getting this inflation down from 2.8% to 2% even, which is what they theoretically target if GDP and employment were continuing to stay strong. If those numbers are slipping, and keep in mind, these numbers are, for the most part, backward looking. If those numbers are already slipping, and then they slip even further in the future, and inflation is still hovering around 2.5% to 3%, then maybe that does push Powell and the other central bankers to cut sooner rather than later. But yeah, an interesting day here going into inflation data tomorrow, which is interest rates moving lower today off of those recent highs that we just showed you. US dollar also seeing some weakness. And you would think, given recent correlations, if rates are lower and dollar is lower, then stocks must be higher. Stocks are also still, I mean, I know the small caps are up actually pretty significantly today, but the Dow's getting pummeled in recent trading, and NASDAQ and S&P both lower today on a day that you, like I say, going off recent correlations, would think stocks are edging higher given that interest rates are moving lower. But this is one of the kind of funky scenarios, Brendan, where inflation isn't quite at 2% and the other US data is starting to slip. This is what we've been seeing in some, you know, European countries and some other major economies globally, which is inflation is moving towards 2%. It's not quite there, but the GDP data, the employment data is starting to slip. And so will the ECB cut before they get 2%? Will the Fed cut before they get 2% inflation? At this point, probably not. But like I say, if they get another weak non-farm, another weak GDP, if the final GDP number that comes out next month is, you know, closer to or under 1%, maybe less confidence for Powell that he can keep interest rates high and move that inflation to 2% even. Maybe he will take 2.3, 2.5%.
Yeah, all signs pointing to possibly a cut coming here as well. Bank of Canada even next week.
Really?
We could hear a quarter point coming off for the Bank of Canada as well. Another data point to throw in this conversation, Frank, and to add to what you were saying there, was this pending home sales number that we got at 10 o'clock this morning. The biggest negative print on pending home sales since 2021. Or at least that's how far my chart goes back that I'm looking at right now. So -7% when it was a -1% print expected there. Mortgage rates are too high.
Yeah, huge miss. And yeah, another data point that kind of points towards the economy in the US not getting the kind of growth or sustained growth, whatever you want to call it, even amid those high interest rates. But keep in mind, we have flipped back and forth like we are right now a few times this year. I mean, if you want to pull up that interest rate chart one more time, the 10-year yield, a very similar thing happened back in April going into May, where in March and April, we saw the strong GDP, strong employment, strong home sales numbers amid the high interest rates that we've had these high interest rates of 5.5% for the last year plus. But those data points were staying strong as inflation was slowly edging lower. And so the idea came out of like, okay, well, interest rates will stay high. And then some data came in there in late April and May and knocked those interest rates off of their highs because the economic data was moving lower. And so we've had this zigzag effect a couple of times, even going back to, the fall of last year, where interest rates moved even higher, not because the market thought they were going to hike, but they just thought, wow, well, 2-year and 10-year yields might stay at 5% and beyond for those durations if economic data stays so strong. The economic data took a little bit of a dip in the fall. People started to price in the cut. So this is all to say that today's move is an intriguing one. The continuation of the stock sell-off, interest rates actually starting to edge lower on the idea that economic data might not be strong enough to sustain 5.5% interest rates. But we have to keep in mind that this is just one day, one data point, 1 week of trading in a long-term view where we've been at 5.5% interest rates for so long. And so we'll have to really watch for the future data here. I think it's also telling that the stock market did sell off yesterday and today, but it's been able to bounce back and kind of trade both sides in the last handful of hours here. It hasn't been a straight shot lower for the S&P necessarily. Because I think everybody's waiting. Will PCE tomorrow confirm this trend of data moving lower? Will we get a 2.5, 2.6%? Then you might see interest rates really get hit. And I would really be interested to see if that would be a positive thing for stocks there, because it might be telling of a bigger economic problem. You and I have been alluding to this throughout, Brendan, which is, of course, we want inflation lower as consumers, but if inflation is going to move lower here, it's likely that other economic data is also going to move lower, and the stock market or the economy as a whole might not want that overall trend, even though they get the benefit of the lower inflation, because that might mean that we're not going to see the growth that we've been seeing in recent years.
And we've made this point in the past, as you mentioned there, from the simple fact that by the time we do get a cut, it might be because things are not great. And the market's at an interesting point here on that, where we are starting to see a few cracks in the armor here and a few things coming to the downside. I mean, earnings not helping here the past couple of days with big tech names. But going forward then, you mentioned non-farm end of the week next week. We're into the Fed. We're into CPI the week after that. If we continue to get this, as you said, the continuation of this data pointing in the direction that, hey, let's be honest, this is what Fed Chair Powell has been pointing to, saying we need to see more data, we need to see more data. Here comes more data.
Yeah, it's going to be a great couple of weeks here for us active traders, no matter what. I mean, the inflation data today was, if anything, an appetizer to the appetizer, because the inflation data tomorrow kicks off, 2 straight weeks of so much data between central bank meetings, next week and the following week, obviously the Fed the following week, non-farm employment data for the US here next week, and they're throwing in a CPI right before that Fed meeting the following week. So there's going to be a ton of data. Of course, what Powell and bullish stock participants would likely want is, you know, an inflation number tomorrow that's lower than expected, but then an employment number next week that's stronger than expected, and these numbers to all kind of cancel out, but inflation on the whole to edge lower. That's probably your best case scenario. But yeah, to your point, Brendan, and to what I've been, you know, alluding to on the hits that we do here on a weekly basis is, you know, if we're going to get the lower GDP numbers, the lower inflation numbers, which we like, but with it comes, you know, lower employment numbers and everything else, and the Fed does finally cut, it might not be something that moves the stock market to new all-time highs, because the greater trend might be that the economy is slowing down and interest rate cuts to the tune of 25 basis points at a time aren't enough to overwhelm that larger trend. But yeah, we'll see what happens. A ton of data in the next 2 weeks here. It's going to be a fun trade.
Yeah, we'll look forward to the insight as always. Frank Caberna, great stuff, great insight as always over at IG in Chicago. We'll speak again on Tuesday.
Thanks, Brennan.
Real quick, guys, on SMMT, a few people mentioning this one. This is the other side of that Merck trade. So they had data on the same type of drug as the one that just destroyed Merck to the downside. SMMT higher on positive data. It's halted again.
We tried to, I don't know, we were both trying to get filled on Summit there on the reopen. It's now halted up. Oh, the tap is now flat. So it halted at 696. It was immediately, the tap was $8.21. Now it's actually flat. So this is what happened. The daily chart is still way above the 52-week high, which is $5.60. Summit is, let me just quickly double check it, 27% short float. So I knew there was a short float. I did not know it was that big. 27% short, and you're seeing it blow out. Merck actually has recovered somewhat. So thankfully, I had a quick trade in Merck, but it's actually bouncing higher, maybe coming back into VWAP. Summit's the one, clearly. Here, so it'll be 5 minutes. It'll reopen. We'll see what happens, but as long as it's above 560, I mean, the shorts are probably feeling a little bit of pain on Summit Therapeutics, no question about it. So big rally for them. I have no idea the significance of the phase 3 or whatnot, but if it's enough that it spooked Merck, then that's not a nothing burger when it's 27% short flow. I'll leave it at that. But I'm not going to be chasing the next halt up. You know, let's let this one calm down, maybe not be halt to halt, and then see if we can find some levels to work off. If it could be halt level, but we'll play it by ear. Again, now the tap is now 750. I did reload on GameStop, but yeah, maybe some of the interest is going to go into that Summit. We're also watching MNTS. That was another one making some moves, but it just gave up VWAP.
Yeah, I'm just trying this. Normally, again, with the market down, hitting the 50 period and looking to go short, I think we'll flip over and start to trade the market a little bit now. I wanted to try, it's into 3 o'clock, so we should be able to get some movement. I want to try ARM just off 121. It came into VWAP right here, so this is where we're long. We're long at 121.25. So it's good. Looks like it's going to break. Look at the spread. The spread opens up to like 20, 30 cents. So I'm going to give it like a dime lower than 121, but it looks, okay, well, someone just got eaten up there. 5,000 shares immediately. See, that's the advantage sometimes when you're watching this. Someone just posted 5,000 shares and got taken out, so someone bought those shares. But anyways, it doesn't seem like it's doing anything. ARM, just want to bring it to everyone's attention in case, I mean, if you're seeing it flash in there, this will not be in the account for very long. We are not using a huge amount of shares. It would have to have come into some kind of support. This is just a VWAP trade that we've already broken. So it's not like everything up. All those other trades that we showed you, bouncing off VWAP, this and that, there's been multiple tests. Here, it failed the first test. So I just thought bringing it back in here, again, a name that's up on the day, trying to play relative strength. It looks like NVIDIA, though, and some of these chip names are really coming in. I mean, down almost 2%. And see, this is another one. What about breaking this bottom? I like to short an AMD better, I think. No, so AMD's up, so scratch that the other way around. But that almost, losing that is almost pretty bad as well. This might be better. That's 167 flat, but then you're gonna run into VWAP, which still is 166.30, so that's a good trade. Yeah, breaking that and then using the 50 period and the 200 isn't that bad. What about a 167 short on AMD? Hard to take it, I understand, because of like the fact that it's up 1.5%, but I still think there's a possibility there for that trade to come in. So that could be something. ARM is bouncing as well. We're in the money now, but again, with the spread, that doesn't mean anything. We're gonna have to let this pop up. Like, we're in the money 5 cents is what I'm saying, so it's nothing. Let it go. We're in the 40s somewhere to see if we can take 20 cents first, and then we'll regroup it after that. So if we can get armed, get 20 cents in the money, take it on this little bit of a bump up, we'll do that. Right now, it's a dime in the money. Let's go a little more. We were risking about probably 40 cents with slippage, so upside for ARM is what we're waiting for. And yeah, we
should have.
We only have a small piece left on Tesla, but
the tap's back to 8.
we tried to get long out.
Oh my god! Like the long would have been $6.96 if you got the halt on SMMT. So I'm just gonna call it Summit before I bungle it too many times. On Summit, like you get $1 on a halt play where all you have to do is you hit bid enter, throw a stop in at 695, and then you just hit a you just hit a market on open order or limit on open, whatever you want to do, and you can make $1. That's gonna suck as a miss. I thought I was pretty quick to the bid, but obviously I was not fast enough. Some people probably got that fill. Great if you did. Once again, Merck is losing the 125 level. So we like these on news plays. Always try to keep it simple. Either find a support to resistance. Like for me, yesterday's bottom. Does it reject yesterday's bottom? Yes. Short there. Does it put in a lower high? Yes, short there. If it had been VWAP, I would have played VWAP. It's just whatever happens sort. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, PDD wasn't that great. Still not even sure why PDD is so strong after we got that headline last night. Thankfully, we didn't try to fight this stock, holding above that 150. But we tried that yesterday on PDD, pulling back in to the low. It gets a small win in there for you, but that's a similar thing happening to Merck. So it's still an 8 tap. When is this opening? In like, wait a minute.
It feels like it's been more than 5.
Oh, okay, no, it's a 10-minute halt. Check that. Yeah, okay, so it's either when you have a volatility halt for anyone that's new to when stocks halt, volatility halts can either be 5 minutes or 10 minutes. If it doesn't open in 5, then you can be sure that it should open in 10. And if it doesn't open in 10, then something is seriously broken. The reason it's 10 instead of 5 is because they can't find enough liquidity. So it just means extreme things are happening, which if you're long.
What is the float of that
obviously.
one?
Let me double check. The short float was 27. The float's 135 million, and it's only done 3, so it's got a reasonably good float. It's just, obviously this is a big piece of news, and the shorts are getting squeezed. Good on anybody that got the long in this.
Yeah,
you had to be a little faster, that's all.
Tough one. What's my line in the sand for Tesla? Yeah, good question there. Dr. J, what's up, Dr. J?
34.50.
So we're already, we don't have a huge piece left. We're talking about 10%, maybe even a little bit less than that. But if, you know, we talked about pulling back to VWAP. Well, it's held it a couple times. So I don't want to punch out if it breaks VWAP because we could break it and hold it again. So that little bottom right there is 178.50. So VWAP's at 179 basically, 178.90. This little bottom right there is 178.50. Again, I know there's a lot of traders that aren't going to care about like 50 cents back or forth, but I don't think that you want to hold something breaking through the 200 period moving average. So that's 178.50. So I feel like that would be a decent line in the sand to say, okay, you know, hands up. We're done, and we'll give that up. So I feel like we'll put a stop there, 178.50, get out of half of what we have left, and then just work on it from there. Hopefully we'll be able to find our way back in, lower, and then hold a little small something for the dream, but that doesn't really matter. This has already been a dream today. We've done really well on Tesla, and we want to make sure that we keep that going. I tried to short Amazon rate that's sort of why we talked about it. With rate, I'm just going to cancel because my offers are way higher. I wanted it right here. This is 2 o'clock, right when we came on the air. Then we bounced up right when we went to Andrew. It was right about here. I was trying to get it off the 50-period moving average. We missed that. That was at 179.80. It since then broke the bottom and continues to go down. So this is that bottom that we were talking about basically for the month. I can let this zoom out as far as you want, but that 180 here, you know, we hadn't, it doesn't matter. You're going to see it's going to come over here as well. But anyways, as we go, that's been holding. And it broke today. We've seen some really negative, there it is. So this goes all the way back there. There's May 1st, okay? I don't know why I just didn't show you the daily chart, to be honest with you. There's May 1st. So, you know, it's been holding 180. It gave it up today. It's under the 50-period moving average. We like the long early. Why am I not out of ARM? Oh, I'm on the offer, okay. But right there, 182.40. That was a good level to short. We did get there today. We took advantage of it. We were able to get some out. And then now it's just downside. So if there's a couple shorts to be in today.
It's not LPA.
It's not whatever that LPH is. But I think it's going to be NVIDIA. But I don't want to short NVIDIA. But it's weaker. I feel a little stubborn maybe not shorting it. But you know what we just did right there? I hope you guys took ARM. I mean, it went into VWAP. We talked about it. We said that we weren't going to play it with a large amount of shares. That's in the eye of the beholder. Let's just see where we can go now up to the upside. So here it goes, 122.50, kind of where we're looking. That 50 period, we have to respect it. That's 121.90. Here we come. Man, we got a good one on right now. We're at 121.80 right now for ARM. So it's making that cash right now. Hopefully not temporary. Little upside boost. What up, babe?
Bostic speaking right now on Fox Business, saying that basically that the outlook on inflation is that it will come down very slowly, and that he does not. This is just the spy up here. Fed Bostic as well saying that he does not see a rate cut in July, but he is open if the data justifies, and says that the Fed does need to stay in a restrictive stance. So some cautious comments coming from Fed Bostic, guys.
He's not really moving the market that much, but I'm going to get to this LPA in a second. That's a hilarious story if it's actually the reason why that stock is going up. But I did get the first $0.50 Merck. My stop is no longer 125.20. I'm going to move it to break even 125. We're holding for 123.5 as that continues down. Summit's still not open, but LPA, look, the story, and thank you, Adair, for putting it. These guys rang the bell at the NYSE today, and they have a 3 million share float. So they're
IPO'd, right?
Yeah, it's like a recent IPO, but it's like, okay, we know what happens with these. We've seen it before. There's a host of recent IPOs that have come. Some of them have been like Chinese ones. Some are, some aren't. In this particular case, I don't even recognize this flag. Costa Rica. It's a Costa Rican company. There you go. So just be careful. It's only done 145,000 shares or something adjacent to that. And that's the reason for all of this. Very tiny float and not a lot of liquidity. What goes up can come down. It's just kind of like in that HKD territory. So there's SMMT Summit opening back into the upside. $9, so check that. It opened at 8, now wanting to go into a halt at 9.61. At this point, a third halt to the upside, I'm not going to take a halt level. I would have taken it if we could have got that first halt, but not the second one, 9.61. We had the other side of this, which is Merck, but it's not nearly as parabolic. Summit is now off to the races. It's a home run pretty much anywhere you have the long at this point, but I am not chasing that move.
SMMT
As I said, I'm at this bottom here, 123.5. I think Merck is going to find a bid. Usually that's what happens. Like the first spike down is the most extreme. And if you look at it right here, like where we're short is essentially that support level on the daily. But Summit, 961. I can't remember the last time I saw something like this. Like it's actual good news. Like this is not like LPA doing 140,000 shares, ringing the bell and being a low float IPO. This is legitimately good news, and now a second halt to the upside. If you're in it and you've already taken profit, I mean, who knows where this thing could go?
Yeah, I mean, there's the other halt right there. I don't know. I haven't even looked at I mean, this is what happens with these stocks. I mean, it's good for them.
There's
so
no level.
We'll wait to see. Yeah, up 200%. Yeah, okay. Anyways, SMMT. Good move. We'll wait to see. I wish I was over there. I did not see it. So, all right. All right, so ARM.
Awesome.
Good trade there. We'll wait for it now to settle down a little bit. We have the long now at 121.20, and it's in the money. So good trade there. We'll wait for it. Palantir, I'm thinking about, honestly, like, still want to wait for that 60 to break. We were pretty close last time, but now it's not. Now we're just not really following any kind of a rule now because, again, we just have 20% left. But at the end of the day, I still want that to break. But the thing is, if I always get asked like about all these different lines and they're just moving averages, but like this is just confusion. So like you shouldn't really, normally if you're seeing something like this, obviously you're waiting for a breakout. So I would think that if it just breaks from here, 315, I feel like this is a good little level, like 2190, if we can get something into that. Even if it rips at the end of the day to get a dollar is a good trade for Palantir. So we'll see if we can get the rest out at 2190. We already have our stop down there. So if you're just going to go 1-to-1, maybe we should do that now. There's only 45 minutes left. So this is just the way I'm thinking. If I'm thinking 2190, we've already put our stop here at 60. So that's 20 cents the other way. So getting out in the middle here somewhere 90, 92, 93 is about 1-to-1 with our last piece. So reasonable. I think it's worth it. We'll do that. We did put our stop in for Tesla. What else do you guys want to look at right now? Roblox. So again, like the name, I'm just seeing it on a scanner here, $33. Okay, it must be, 33 seems pretty high for this name, isn't it? Okay, we did get 27. Oh, we're still waiting for that 34 break.
34 break, that's the
there on Roblox, yeah. So good look there, but yeah, not yet. 34 has to come into play. We'll look at that for tomorrow. Again, we've liked Shopify breaking a little bit higher. We had Raheem on earlier. I still like the name, but again, you had mentioned it. What was the name? You said it's the wrong space. Was it? No, it wasn't Shopify. Oh, CRM. Yeah, and so CRM. That's the thing. It's like, I feel like Shopify, we just got to wait for something. I thought an upgrade, which we had gotten, would get it going. It didn't happen. It's still off the bottom, but it's still in this range. So hard to say one way or the other, but I still like a 60 break. So I still like that name, but yeah, hard to get in there when you saw a name like PayPal, which was on my radar today, again, and pretty flat.
It was good early.
It was good. It went all the way to 63.30, but if you look at the day, I mean, it's not.
That's because of the market,
not
though.
super exciting.
I mean, the market pulled.
If the market ripped, it would have been a different story.
Exactly, like the market's pulled back like lower highs. Yeah, but not everything is going to be Tesla today. I'm not digging PayPal. I don't think the catalyst wasn't as big.
No, just an upgrade.
Yeah, it was only an upgrade. So I think PayPal did really well today, relatively speaking. It's a stock that's been on my radar. I don't really own it or anything like that. It's on the radar. I own Square and a piece of it. Not like that's been much better. Yeah. Yeah, it's one I was thinking about and I never actually bought it. I'm out of Merck. I said we'd take 123.5. So the second scalp trade, we'll take something for 50 cents. We'll take $1.30 or so because it bounced off the 150 and then we got out on the way back up. It looks like it's calming down. And eventually I think this will probably catch a bid. But there's one name we have not talked about that's having a fantastic day. That's Rivian. Rivian, I don't have a single trade on Rivian today. Let's get that out of the way. But Rivian's back above $11. 8% to the up. Okay, 7.7% to the upside. It was up 8% when I meant to bring this up. But the more important thing is it is trend up. I don't like that reversal candle on a 15-minute. But if it can hold 11, then it starts to look a little bit better. Convicted is asking about Robinhood. I was in Robinhood a couple of times today. I don't love the out, to be honest with you, on Robinhood. Like I trailed it out through 22, and that was probably a mistake because I dipped it into VWAP right in here when it held this support, and then trailed it out at 22, and that was a bad look. And I trailed it out earlier too. Like I trailed it out here of a long, only to jump right back in. Like that doesn't make any scalp it out, then just
Summit
go long
open,
again. I'll
by
be
the way.
Summit's at
It's at 11 right now.
11.
Oh, 9.
Nope.
Yeah, it was just
And
11.
why isn't it halted
It should
down?
have halted down there. See?
That should have halted
Things are
down.
broken, honestly. Like, that should have halted down. If you're trading this, you probably should be getting something out at some point here because this is a little wild right now for this name. But, hey, to each their own. Like, I don't know why this isn't halting. It just went from 11 down to 9. That's 20%. And now it's, I mean, it just went to 11 to 10 again. That's 10%. So I don't know. You know why? Maybe because, what was this when it started the day? $3? Okay, no.
No,
There's
it was
different
over a
rules,
dollar.
right? Well, it was over $1.
It's over a buck. The crazy rules are when a stock is under 75 cents. I
kind of
learned
want to
that
go
myself
long
a
if it
couple
halts
weeks ago.
again. I don't.
The fact that it just resisted that pullback into 9, oh
How
my
much can it
goodness.
drop
Usually you'd think that you'd try to find a long, but I'm not taking a long through the high. That's crazy. This was a $3 stock.
If it's going to halt, it's only going to halt down, I guess.
This should be a halt down if it breaks $9. I would suspect. I have a 3-minute chart up. If this doesn't hold 9, Snap's making a move as well. Let's get to something. Load. Snapchat to the downside.
Yeah, apparently I just heard something about they're preparing something for the U.S. algorithm. So I'm guessing
TikTok, that is.
TikTok, yeah. So I'm guessing that they are going to bend and they're going to either sell the algorithm or get that figured out. So your boy will go short. Right now, we'll go short right there against like this 15.05. There it goes. I mean, hopefully we can get to the downside right now. We're just trying to scalp out here. This is literally stacking right now. I mean, if it rips up, it rips up. 15. What did I say? 15.11 or so. We'll punch out of this. This could be a bad trade. We're not in this a huge amount. We're just trying to pay for dinner. Let's see what happens here with Snapchat. Again, it's a nice move down. There's bad news for them, obviously, because with TikTok, potentially, I don't think TikTok was ever in trouble of getting shut down or anything like that. But
Meta also down $2 on that news. I mean, I think that goes without saying. We usually completely ignore Alphabet being adjacent to that in some ways. But they're unaffected, so they didn't even move. It's really just a Meta story.
There's also
and a Snapchat story in there. But Meta's starting to come back in.
We're out of Snapchat.
That can get back to VWAP. That looks spicy. Summit has not halted, by the way.
What?
I wanted to get back to...
We're short AMD here. There's something about...
What happened?
There's something about chips, and I don't know. They said it was something about preparing some kind. I don't know. NVIDIA started moving. I hopped into AMD. Like AMD broke that 167. So I went over there and looked at it. Then I was able to get this price that I have right now, which is 30s. So we're short right now, 167.30 on that break.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thing is, the Snapchat, it didn't suck because it wasn't that bad, but it's still making that move. So Adara has some news.
So I have this story here on this NVIDIA AMD situation. I'm not seeing any citation of this, but this is circulating on Twitter. So to be clear, not seeing where this story has come from or any clarification on this story. The headline circulating around Twitter right now is that the U.S. is reining in the AI chip sales to the Middle East, specifically by NVIDIA and AMD. So they do name NVIDIA and AMD by name here, saying the U.S. is reining in those specific companies' chip sales to the Middle East. There's also the story with Snapchat here, with made that move down. There are some, quote, sources saying that TikTok is preparing a U.S. copy of the app's core algorithm. So again, no citations for either of those stories, but that's what's circulating right now in the media with regards to AMD and NVIDIA and Snapchat, guys.
All right, so we're still short AMD right now. I like that trade. We did try to get out some more ARM right there, because ARM is ripping for us. So that's a money trade right there for ARM. Now ARM 70 cents in the money. And AMD, ciao. Let's see if we go to the downside right now. We've got lots of positions on over here, man. We've got Tesla, we've got Palantir, we've got ARM, we've got AMD, and here we go. We waited for this. It's a news piece. It is AMD, and your boy is short this right now. Let's go. AMD, now 50 cents in the money. That's what we're talking about. Again, fortune favors the bold right there. We stepped in and lost on Snapchat. There's no doubt about that, but we make it all back. And look at Snapchat now. Jeez, we got stopped out of that. That sucks. Nice move downside for Snapchat. Nice move down for AMD. We're on one right now, guys. There it is. It's $1 right there. It's too bad about Snapchat. We could have really done well there, but we did really, really good on AMD as that makes a move down. That's what we're talking about right there. That's how you trade news.
Oh my goodness, I missed a 11.24 punch. I missed an 11.22 punch. I just got the 11.20 on the way back up on NVIDIA. That was absolutely insane. So trying to get this one, you got to give NVIDIA some room. It tanked like everything else. Well, not everything. I mean, I guess I only looked at 2 names. So when I say everything, I mean AMD and NVIDIA. I didn't look at any of the other names in there. So NVIDIA through 11.20, fresh lows on the day. We'll give it back into the 2.4. That was where there was liquidity originally. Like the actual price that I was trying to get the short was through the 24 because that's where the liquidity was. So I'm going to give it back into that level, and we'll take it every few bucks. I'm on the offer of Snapchat back at like 15s. Maybe it's for 13s or something like that. Yeah, at 15. So this is probably going to be gone. I'm just going to cancel it. I think the move is already, that's come and gone. If it was going to bounce back to VWAP, we'd have bounced back to VWAP right now. So watch out. The market if Meta's going to go down and NVIDIA and AMD are going to go down, then have a quick look at the NASDAQ, and it's at the lows as well. NVIDIA is going to the downside here, but I might get something if we can get some 14s or 15s. Because I'm digesting that story, and I'm like, these are not usually that big of a deal.
No, I think that's true.
So my gut's telling me, take it station to station. I'm chasing the move. I wanted it here, and I got it $5 away from the entry on news, and I've seen this story before. I don't like usually shorting it at the bottom on news, and that's burned me in the past. It burned me on Boeing. It burned me on something else there, and I don't think this is that bad. That's my read. But I'm just going to get in and get out, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If we continue lower, fair enough. And we're probably not going to get Micron short either. So I'm just going to take the scalp trade. Part of it's because I chased the move. I wanted 24s, and I got 20s. So I might as well I would definitely have been all out if I got the 10 bucks. And 11, the other thing I should point out,
oh, man.
we're pretty much at the bottom. Like, the week's bottom on NVIDIA was right here. This, like, 11.09 was that yesterday low, and it was also the breakout price 2 days ago. So I think that's a bounce spot anyway. So we're just going to take the money and run.
Yeah, we here, baby. Now, this was a trade that was easy because this actually went against us. As we had it, we were telling you guys, we're short AMD here. We're going to take this trade on. So we put AMD on right there, and it's a dollar club right there instantly. We just took some out. So we covered some at 167. We told you that's 30 cents. Then we got some for like 60 cents, and then we took some at 50. We took some at VWAP, and then we just covered some more down there. So we don't have too much left right here on this trade. So let's just wait to see what winds up happening now. We have that 20% left on that. Tesla should be coming out. We already talked about where that break was. That's down here at 50. So if that comes out, that comes out. Not much we could do about that. ARM, we tried to punch out. Actually, we did fine on it. Oh, we actually got that out. Okay, so we just punched out at the bottom there when it broke, but all of these outs were fine. We did put something up here and missed it at 122. Those were our levels. Not where that wick was, or we would have got it. It was up here at 122, so we did miss that, but ARM obviously falling down on those chips. So that's okay, man. Chips with dip, well, we're not taking any dips on this one. We're just trying to hold to see. There's our play on AMD. Pretty clean, pretty straightforward. Punch the short. Again, the thing about it was a news because I heard it in there, but the reason why I went over to AMD and checked the price was we already knew we wanted a 167 break. We talked about that. The only thing is that it was up on the day versus NVIDIA. Remember I said the NVIDIA 25 break was probably going to be better? Well,
you couldn't, it was almost impossible to get.
Well, no, but I'm saying if you would have put the offer in before the news, you would have had it, right? But there it goes, downside move anyways. It's just, that's breaking news. And when that happens, you never really know. And this could bounce right back. Like the report could come out and say, oh, they're talking about their older models of chips or,
yeah, anything.
You know, like they could say psych, you know, I mean, it's the government, right? So we'll see what winds up happening. But for now, it is what it is. And it is another one. So we're happy right now. We're just chilling out. Palantir might come out. Some of these names might come out. We've got stop orders already in, and we're in Snapchat just to see what happens. We're short at 15 right now. This one hasn't been good because we were long short, and now we're just waiting again. We actually had this. We got to put some bids. So now we have some bids on Snapchat, but I feel like this story is nothing now.
Meta came back better than Snapchat did. I'm going to get into Snapchat, but NVIDIA is heading back down into the low. I did just scalp out of it. I said it was bouncing out in front of that level, and I had chased the move. I didn't think this was that big of a deal, but now it's starting to head lower. I'm on the offer of Snap, trying to get it here because there's a secondary bounce. It holds 15.10. It's still underneath pre-market low, so I'm on the offer now to get it. 15.05. I might chase down a bit because I just saw Meta make another push to the downside. We'll see if we can get some 4s on Snapchat. The other thing is Summit, there's something weird about it, but we kind of already alluded to the fact that it doesn't want to halt. It did break that halt bottom at $8, and it went all the way to $7, and it still hasn't halted to the downside. And it's bouncing now. So, be careful with this. I suspect it could still do some halting and all that good stuff. And because it's so late in the day, if it halts after 350, it doesn't open till 4. The 5-minute, 10-minute thing is completely irrelevant on any halt that happens in the last 10 minutes of the day. So that'll apply to Summit, and then there's a couple of other things that are moving around and halting, JCSE and all that good stuff. So yeah, obviously a nasty move down for some of the chips. But I find on news plays, if you can get in and get out, just kind of trust your gut. NVIDIA's right back into 1120. So if this ends up being like a temporary bottom, I think we probably made the right decision to get out. And Meta also moved to the downside, but look at Meta. 1 wick, 465.05, and it's right back in. Still under VWAP, and as long as it's under 468, snaps underneath like 1512, I think these can be like retracement plays. But nope, Snap just broke 1512, apparently. Or did it?
It did. Well,
it's
right there.
It's right there. I mean, it didn't. I would have got stopped out with the penny after anyway. It did. Although I got hit here. I got punched out like right before it broke 12. That's where my stop was on a break of 12. It doesn't really matter. It's through 12 now. So I'm out of Snap. I'm going to slap the fail on that one. But thankfully, we're able to catch. I mean, Merck was good on news. And this has been an afternoon of news plays. I mean, this all started with Summit and Merck. And then now we have NVIDIA and AMD and all the chips going crazy. We have Snapchat on the TikTok news, Meta as well. Google didn't really move on that. Although, yeah, I mean, Google was already having a bad day, down 2% at the low of the day. So maybe that's why it didn't go down, because it already stunk for them. A lot in the chat that we're not really talking about. I see a couple of names in there that are reporting tonight. Just a shout out, I'll be doing the market recap show in lieu of Sean, so we can handle some business coaching. And well, obviously you have big plans tonight for dinner as well.
Oh yeah,
It'll be big. A shout out to Marissa. Happy birthday. That's after we do everything. Marvell reports after, but we'll be all over that. There's like
Marvell too.
There's 9 big names reporting, at least by my count.
Wow.
9 names that I like.
Right.
The other ones
as
well.
Show.
It'll be a big one. Let's get to the green screen. We've got Adara.
Quite a few interesting names in a lot of different sectors here making some larger moves on the S&P 500 that maybe we haven't discussed or looked at as much, and one of them is going to be Moderna. Financial Times reporting here that the U.S. is close to deal to bankroll Moderna's bird flu vaccine trial. So nice look here for mRNA, up about almost 3%. Verizon on a steady move to the upside, cracking your high of days right now for VZ. Their public sector is selected for a 10-year, $2.67 billion Navy contract. So nice look for VZ. Last but not least, we have HPQ. HP Inc. here up about 17% on earnings beat across the board. Great look for HPQ, and a lot of these names making some interesting moves today, guys.
It's going to be...
Was that like a new transition where it like...
I mean, it's going to be very, very spicy. 169, it was down 4 or 5%.
Right
Yeah, down 5, almost 6% right now. And again, this is actually another one of those plays that could be a problem, right? I mean, if,
Lunacy.
you know, DELL downside there, if they don't have a good guide, what does that mean? So we'll wait to see here, because they've been really, I don't know why the chart's not loading. It's taking time, but DELL's been off for a minute. All right, we're averaging back into AMD now. We already said, all right. What? I was right there at 167.25. Well, now we just went down to 17s, but I'm still there at 25. Why didn't I get shares up there? Okay, darn. Oh well, we were just trying to wait for 167.50 to break back to the upside right there. So we'll reload the short a little bit now. We are reloaded into this short. I was trying to wait. That sucks. I was at 167. I'm going to put a bid here at 02s, but oh, darn, man. We were waiting for a little bit more up there at 167.25. I think we must have stopped that order because it was coming right into that level. We didn't get it. So we'll put another offer now a little bit lower. If we can get something, 50s or 60s, something like that, we'll be happy with it. Good little reload there on AMD. That sucks, man. We could have really made something there, but we still could. Nice move down. I would be covering now if I had if I had the piece that I thought I was getting, but we didn't get it. So let's wait to see for this move down. Here comes. We'll take it, man. We'll take it. We'll take it all day. We're just put another short on right here. It's in the money, 40, 50 cents. Let's see if we can tank even further. We're bidding 60s right now, so here we go. There it is. There it is. I'm bidding 65s. There it goes. Yes, sir. That's a reload right there. Shout out to everybody trading like this right now. That was a good one. Good reload there on AMD to the top side, but yeah, didn't get the full boat. Oh well.
The downside now, and that's this news. It's like I said, it's a news afternoon, man. So there's probably other names that we could be trading. I was looking at GameStop earlier. I'm not even taking a second look at that stock. I'm not looking at Robinhood anymore. It's either the Merck, Snap, SMNT. I went over to Micron because Micron was the name that I wanted short in the chip space before all of this nonsense, and it's the one that gave me the setup we like. We talked about execution plan, low of the day, broke the low, consolidation underneath the low. Relative weakness. When I got out of NVIDIA, still underneath the bottom, tries to bounce, fails underneath the low of the day, get in when it fails. That's what we like for Confluence. When it breaks 27, add to it. Now we're going to get some fresh lows. All about the setup. If you can't find a setup, then you kind of, I hate the term like pissing in the wind, but then you're just like, okay, well, what am I doing? You can like a direction, but you're just guessing at price at that point. So nice little setup there on Micron, which was already weak. I'm assuming C3AI is probably doing some things, so I see some people talking about it, but I'm gonna get one more bid here on this little push into Micron, because I just realized it's 3:35. So we are running out of time here. With 15 minutes to the imbalances, I've taken half out of this new trade. Summit still hasn't halted, but it's caught a bit of a bid. Yeah, I see you, Kyle Burdett. I'm not gonna say that. Yeah, I know what you mean. I can say that too, but yeah, that's another way of putting it. I like pissing in the wind. It's a little bit better. C3AI is having a super strong day. I'm going to slap a fail on myself for never finding a long. There were a lot of names that looked just like this. Dips at the open, positive news. It was a good guide for them. And then you had to break out the top at 28. It wasn't super clean, but it was clean enough to try to get involved. And it looks like they're going to close up 20%, at least near the highs of the day. But as said, this is all about the news plays. So I pivoted from NVIDIA, which you could have reloaded NVIDIA at 1120. I kind of felt it was a nothing burger, not that nothing burger, but not that big of a deal, and I wanted to short something that had been weaker. So we popped on over to Micron. If we get to the 126 even, then we're going to get some out there. And no matter what, this is getting trailed into 350. I wouldn't be surprised if the chips have some imbalances. For anybody keeping a look on Summit, in complete hindsight, when it broke that halt price to the downside, this halt up here at 960, you technically could have had like a 959 short back through the halt price with like a 10 stop. All that said, I'd have to be thinking short, and you would have had to pay for locates, which I promise you I wasn't thinking that when it was going to the upside. It's really calmed down now. We should keep an eye on this for tomorrow. Maybe figure out what exactly all this, like what this actually means for Summit. You know, read up on it. How big of a deal is this going to be to their bottom line? What's the addressable market? I don't know any of that stuff for SMMT. I just know it has a huge short float, and clearly there's some potential here.
Oh, man. Yeah, lots of potential. That's funny that Raider Trader said Eli Lilly. You know, the last time we bought something was Eli Lilly. We talked about that, and Dare remember, it was the last podcast that we had a couple weeks back, and it was Eli Lilly earnings, and it was down at 713 or something like that. So that's already up $100 from there. Like, nice move up for Eli Lilly and still going higher. So we really like that name. All right, AMD is that Dollar Club winner on a reload. So just so you, this is back to back. Like, so this is $1 here the first time, and then it's $1 the second time now on the reload. So basically $2 out of a $1 move. So that's the essence of scalping. You know, it's like you take the profit, it comes back to the same level, you get back in if you like it again, and you get back out when it comes back in. So here's AMD moving just $1, but we've taken $2. Like if you take out right now, that's to the bottom. Then we have scalps in between, so it's not going to net out to be the same. Tesla there breaks a little bit, so that's fine. We're out of now half of what we had left. Small piece left for Tesla. That's honestly, I'm not even really thinking about these longs. This Palantir is going to be out in a couple seconds. It's what's happened now for us on AMD has been the gift for the afternoon. So that was a good trade. And again, it's just understanding the situation, calling it, and putting the trade on, and just it working. Sometimes it won't work. That is for sure. All right, moving on off of that. We know we want the Amazon short. You know, we should have just took it regardless of the price. That was a mistake right there for me. But hey, what are you going to do? We're into that. We're also into Snapchat right now. Ethereum's not really moving. I was thinking, you know, on any kind of like bad news or any sort of story with the NASDAQ moving down.
Bitcoin pulled 1,000 back.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. Or China or anything like that. You know, it is going to be bad news for crypto because just it's not, crypto doesn't like or shouldn't like political unrest, okay? So obviously, as this continues to move down there, today. It's a nice little move there for Ethereum, but I'm not hearing any news on it. So just probably with what we're doing in the market, AMD could bounce. We only have a small piece left. Other than that, it's 340 right now.
Yeah, oh, that's the other thing.
Can't really see myself putting in too many shares.
It's 340. The VIX, I saw someone say the VIX had a huge move. It did make a move, but remember the VIX is in the teens, which is not, that's not scary territory for the VIX, but there was a little spike up. And look, I think we get a little bit more excited when when the VIX breaks out of channels and usually gets in the 20s. I think we get a bit concerned. So it's worth watching. But any kind of a move like that, there's no way you don't see the market break lows and have, what do we have, like 3 pieces of news that affected big cap stocks. You had big pharma that got affected. I guess Merck is not that big of a deal compared to every single chip name falling. And then you had, obviously Google was at the low of the day when Meta made that push to the downside. So you're going to get some push up in volatility when that happens, but not a huge move there at all. Shout out to Jack CW. Appreciate you on the super chat there. Dollar General from 145 to 125. And was it Papa John's at year lows? Hold on a second. Did Papa John's, they didn't report, did they?
I mean, it's probably such a low market cap, it might have
I feel like we would have, okay, but yeah, oh wow. Possible. Yeah, that's nasty for them. Let me just double check it. I knew Dollar General. Dollar General went from up. On our watch list this morning, you can check it out. They were up 5%, Dollar General. But Papa John's, no, they did not report. Maybe this just continuation of trend. And we talk about stocks that are shorts till they're not. I hadn't even looked at this chart. Wow, Papa John's.
Great symbol.
That's not, it's a great symbol. It's an ugly looking chart. It's a great looking chart if you're short, and that's about it. And then DG, this is the anti-Kava. Like Kava yesterday was the dump in the aftermarket and then rally. DG did dirty in the other direction for anybody, where it was a gap up. Well, not really a gap up because it moved in the pre-market and then just proceeded to give it up all day long. And now you're going to end up at the lows of the day. There is a difference between short and long-term trends. At the open, look at the bounce. It bounced $5, $6, and it might have looked like it was going to be a ham long. But once it rolled back over, the trend is not, you can't just get glued to what happens in the first 5-10 minutes of these stocks at the open. I think you can get into a lot of false trends. Like to me, trends are what happen after 10 o'clock. That's what matters a heck of a lot more. So the only thing I'm in is going to be Micron. We could have reloaded NVIDIA, but my plan of action was to get a punch short in NVIDIA and end up chasing it $5 and only getting $5 out of it. But Micron, we wanted short at VWAP. Never got there. Micron's been weak all day. I don't even know why Micron's was weak relative to the market. It just is, or to the other chip names. It might have something to do with the fact that it just recently failed a 52-week high. So a lot of names failing 52-week highs in the last couple of days. Is it a sign? I don't know. We'll find out. We've got a bunch of earnings to come through. Not the best environment for Marvell to be reporting tonight, I have to admit. Yeah, they can't like the fact that this is happening to the chips right now.
No, I mean, so I put a stop on AMD. I might as well talk about it. 166.60. I mean, I figure like if it breaks above here, then we'll just get out. You know, it's strong on the day. We obviously got that news. I'm getting exhausted. Oh my God. All right. So if I've made like trades today. 100. 223 fills today. Fees $45. Not bad. All right, so a lot of fills. All right, so here we go. Oh, just trying to break 166 again. So I want to see us hold VWAP. Not that it really matters on this news story. It's more just this level of breaking higher here through 166 and change. So far, so good. I mean, we have Snap. You know, we were short. Got short again there. 15.07 right now for that one. What else is working? Oh, funny trade of the day here. ARM, we'll be flat on it. You know, down, up, down. We took a long at 08, got out at 40s. Then it breaks and we get out on the breakdown. So again, you know, just in ARM, which is basically one idea, basically two ideas, the long off 121 twice. See how many fills we have? Like 8 fills. So that's why it seems like, you know, we do have a lot of fills, but That's one of the situations there. Palantir is 1 cent away from getting out, so that's okay if that does happen. We had sort of talked about that and expecting that. This should not be affecting any of the bank stocks, but we did go over some of that with Raider Trader, and you could see it is a little bit of a pullback, but there's still strength in bank stocks today, up 0.5% against this this NASDAQ. ES down half of what NASDAQ is down, so right now JP Morgan and a bunch of them doing the heavy lifting right now in the broader markets. 198.50.
There was some early look imbalances came out. There's actually a couple of names worth a look on the individual. One of them is BNS, 850,000 to sell. Just remember, on any dual listed in Canada, if you don't have access to see both the Canadian imbalance and the U.S. imbalance, and please do not trade off the U.S. imbalance alone on a Canadian bank stock. You're going to get yourself into trouble. Very often, if it comes out of sell in New York, it's a buy in Toronto. And it'll be a mess if you trade it without actually seeing both. I wouldn't, that's just me. But where is it? HPQ 1 million early sell, which I would say that could be something to monitor here because that was a pretty big runner most of the day today. With the exception of late in the day with the market tanking, that was the only weakness in HPQ has been when the market decided to roll over. So that's going to be a million sell. You could see a move on this in about 5 minutes, but I don't anticipate any new positions here. Just going to hang on to Micron. I've scalped out to these levels already, so either it gets back to 126.80, which was this flat bottom break. Just going to put a trailing stop in there, cancel other. I have a lot of stop orders for some reason. Cancel some of the ones that are not going to come into play. Like I'm not going to get Amazon to VWAP. I don't need a stop order there. So 126.80 is the new trail, and we'll hang on to some Micron.
I know we're $1 in the money. We should be happy on AMD, and we are. We're happy. We're really, really happy, to be honest with you, actually. But I'm like a little bit upset about this one because I could have easily gone over, and like Neil said, it would have been hard to punch it, but we could have gone over to NVIDIA and got into this one. No matter where you got in, I mean, it's just a monster trade. Oh, that's too bad. AMD is not falling nearly what NVIDIA is falling right now. And the thing is that even before this move happened, we had said, if you're looking for the short, I was like, I don't want to do it. But NVIDIA breaking this 25 there was huge. So it's just like, too bad I said we didn't want to do it or I would have put that order in. We didn't even put the order in on AMD either, right? So it's just, we just hopped over here on that news, saw that it broke 167, it came back, and I was like, okay, well, we'll short it because it broke. So like the time that we got short AMD was 320, right? So if we flip over, let's just see what NVIDIA looked like at 320 right there. Yeah. I mean, we could have easily got something here, 1122s, something like that. But at the end of the day, this candle is still $5. So depending on where you get it, I think it still would have been something. But look at that. Look at that, man. This is really dripping. And I had said even this morning that a 20% haircut in this is what I'm expecting. And it could be happening now. I mean, here's 4% today. So a couple more days like this, and then that is your 20%. And it's probably going to gap.
The only reason I don't think it'll do it now is it still has the split. And like I'd almost feel like a haircut would have come naturally after the split. But then you get a catalyst, and it doesn't matter when you get a catalyst, I suppose. But I thought NVIDIA was going to hold on to the split, do a bit of a rally into that, and then you'd get a sell on the split. But
yeah,
you know what? That's what happens when you have a catalyst. I mean, all of a sudden you don't know who knew. Like there probably hasn't been a trade, or no one's even pulled up Snapchat in a month in this. You know, no one's ever pulled up Merck. Okay, that's not true. No one's pulled up Merck on this show in a year. We don't even know Summit. And NVIDIA has been a monster a lot of the time. Like we're usually looking to go long those names. So you never really know what the market's going to give you. But it's been a news-driven afternoon. That's what we've had to do here. Summit is holding, oddly enough, so that looks pretty good. I'm just double-checking with 1 minute to go till the imbalances come out here. Merck is actually holding up pretty interestingly. If this turns out to be not that big of a deal for Merck, I don't know, man. Like it's right at a support level in what was a bit of an upward trend. So it'll be spicy. It's one I want to kind of figure out what's going on here. Because if it's not that bad, you never really know. But Merck down 1%, and it was already in a bit of a dip as well. So maybe it felt a little bit of extra pressure because of that. NVIDIA is about to test 1100 even as we get the imbalances in 1 minute.
All right, we're $1.70 now in the money. I mean, look at what's happening right now. Hydration Nation to everybody immediately. All right, look at this. Now breathe, breathe. Do not have hot dogs now. Do not. Take your time. There goes NVIDIA. It just broke. And man, oh man, I hate to celebrate because I know there's a lot of people that are probably in many of these names, but there it goes to the downside. Goes AMD 165.50. Bless you. Nice move. Trying to get lower. Let's see where we go. I'm not going to dump this at all. We're already in this name, so we ride together right now. So look at this move to the downside. Jeez Louise. And again, if you're not logging into our show for the handsome co-host that I have, then it must be for the breaking news, because we got this to you Sharif? No. Super Mario, people were saying in the chat there. That was hilarious. David Schneider, yeah, that was a good one too.
Muted.
But okay, right now, nice move to the downside here for NVIDIA, breaking through 1100 and still going. So there it goes, man. NVIDIA just cracking lower. I don't know why I'm worried about NVIDIA when we've already got the moneymaker right here. Well, props it up. Anybody that followed with this, that was a good one. It's AMD, it's downside. We punched it twice. So there it goes. And the craziest part is, we said this, and shout out to Ponzi, he said scared money don't make money, right? So I said that's been a big change for me. You saw me take everything. Like, news comes out, boom, we're in it, man. We're in that Snapchat, we're in this AMD, we're trying to make that cash, and that's what we did. So AMD all of a sudden, just again right here, and I'll tell it to you, we're having a great green day. There's absolutely no problems for us, and AMD after this trade will be my number 2 P&L name. So Tesla's number 1, not even close. And then AMD brings it up number 2. So nice move down there on just this. So just in the last half hour, we put damage on this. The imbalances are out. I didn't even...
They are out. I was just scanning for something.
Okay, 165.50.
Apple's 1.3 to the sell side. It's the big, check that, Apple is now 1.7. It was just, you saw it, it was 1.3, now it's 1.7 sell. Alphabet's an 800,000 sell. Micron's bouncing, so I think the chips are coming back up, but I have a trail for that, so it should be covered. Ignore maybe don't ignore S-Wave, but this is a deal that's closing at 335 cash. It might move 5 cents. The banks, nothing really to see. 700,000 on BNS, but this is Apple is the real. That's the only real imbalance. TAL, I don't think anybody cares about TAL. But Apple, sell imbalance, it dropped like 50 cents on that. It did it again. I'd stop doing this where it comes out as a sell, and then wait a minute, and then whatever it is, it grows. So if you just wait that minute, you probably could have punched this for a nice little scalp trade. But I thought that trade was done. But apparently there's still some selling at the close in Apple. We've seen, I think it's been about 6 out of the last 9 days, something in that. I know it was 4 out of 5, and then it skipped a couple of days, and then I've seen it a couple times since then, where it comes out as a small sell imbalance or a reasonable sell imbalance, and then 1 minute later, Apple gets into a bigger one. But 352, I'm going to move my trail to the quarters on Micron. I think we're catching a bit of a bid here on MU. I thought we'd get crazy and we could go to like 125 because NVIDIA had broken 1100. But look at the bounce. Oh, look at the bounce in NVIDIA. I should just punch it.
Yeah, I did the same thing. We got out of AMD, spin it right there. We'll take the dollar at the end there for AMD. We're now flat on that stock. As Neil said, stock's starting to move backside a little bit there. And this is the problem when you have the imbalances come out, right? I mean, you never know which way they're going to flip you. And AMD, again, huge trade. Happy with that one. Couldn't be happier. But we'll just move on. A little bit sad that we missed that Amazon short. We'll put that on, whatever. I'm here tomorrow, so Amazon will be there tomorrow for sure for us. So that's good. All right, Tesla, Palantir. Again, I don't feel no ways about this one. We could have taken it out there. We did the math. We said 22 was our offer. If it hits it, great. If not, we're going to be out the other way. So again, taking a shot there when it was at 80, 20 cents one way, 20 cents the other. I'm fine with it. Amazon out. What else, man? I mean, there's really nothing else. We could just continue to watch ARM maybe. That name didn't really get affected by this, which is kind of a surprise, but I guess no matter where they sell these chips, ARM is going to be still involved with everything. So ARM, nice move.
I don't think it's as bad for them.
No, I don't. I mean, I think it would be bad for demand, but not necessarily for them, yeah. But there it is right now, 15, 17. So you just talked about changing some stops. We were getting lower. We got 5s, 7s, 7s, and 6s here on a 12 short. So we made a little bit back, but we're still stuck in shares here of Snapchat heading into the close. Only 5 minutes left.
Yeah, just 5 minutes to go here, guys. And like we said, I mean, Apple just grew another 200,000. So it's now 1.9 million to the sell side on Apple. But there was a bounce in the chip names. I think you had to get out there. It was news-based. At some point, they're usually going to catch a bid. Just a little bit of an alert to this. Like, Apple's bouncing despite the fact the imbalance has probably just flipped. Wow, it just spiked $1. No, it did not. It's still 2 million to the sell side, and Apple just spiked through VWAP. I'm expecting this is going to pair off, though. It's trading like it's going to pair in the next 20 seconds or so. At 3:55, you know it's a major pairing event. So, yeah, just be careful if you're trading any of these imbalance names. You know how it can get. But a crazy, crazy move we saw in NVIDIA. I think it was the right call not to hold into the close. When NVIDIA gets back above 1,100, come on, the other names are going to go up. I think that's easy. That's an easy call.
Yeah, here comes a little bit of reversal. Yeah, like look at this AMD. Just by getting out right there, we saved ourselves like 30 cents. You know, so that was a pretty good one right there. Shout out to Mr. Kyle Burdett. You just mentioned, I think you mentioned him. Right there, $10. This guy wants you want the hot dog cannon, Kyle? All right, hold on a second. Let me get that for you. There it is. Right there. Inspired by, you know, going to sporting events and they fire off the T-shirt cannon. So that was the...
That's how Maude died in The Simpsons.
Oh, right, taking it to the face there?
I mean, you should. It's a cartoon, so I can laugh at it.
Yeah, it's fine. Hopefully, you know. Yeah, okay, good. Good luck. Tons of so many. Is Ulta Beauty today, too?
Oh, yeah, I sneezed. I'm going to the desk right now. Ulta Beauty is going to be out there. Marvell. Let's go to the recap show. But in 4 minutes, there's still a lot that can happen. Apple's still moving. yeah. Good luck on that one there. Yeah, so shout out to Kyle there. He's talking about hitting the SPY and what else did you say there, Kyle? SPY and Amazon. Oh, good job on Amazon there. Yeah, I like the Amazon short for sure. So shout out to Kyle there. Thank you for the super chat. Okay, there goes Amazon and back to Amazon. There goes Tesla. Reward yourself, my guy. All right. So we'll reward ourselves right now on this trade. We'll offer it out right now and get filled. Cancel the rest. Cancel our stop. All right, so Apple planning a Siri overhaul. So I just said Apple planning a Siri overhaul. And then Siri just said, I can't do that. No, Apple is going to do that, phone. Your boss is going to do that. Your father. All right. All right, so that's great. That's great news. I'm looking for that refresh cycle as well. I mean, I'm excited for that for sure. We're waiting. The Katina household's waiting to get those iPhone 16s. Hopefully, it is going to be something June the 10th, I believe. Look, a name that I'm looking out for today is Ulta Beauty. I really feel the same way I do about ELF right now. Like, we missed ELF. We should have bought ELF on earnings. We talked about that. It was down. I almost want to throw up about Kava because we talked about that with Mike Edward. We talked about Kava versus CMG and why we like that name. Ulta Beauty is getting, like, destroyed to the downside. I mean, this was a $560 name back in March. Okay? March. It's $360 right now. So you've just gotten absolutely destroyed, down 200 points heading into earnings. So I really, really like that name. A few other big ones. I don't really like DELL up here. I think it's pretty expensive. I've been owning Costco since I was a wee one, and this name will never come out of my account, period. But I like it. I better start canceling some of these stop orders. Snapchat's still fine. I got 2 minutes to go. I mean, look at this. This was last earnings. All it was a buy opportunity. This reminds me of Eli Lilly. It's almost exactly the same. I bought Eli Lilly at 7.13 and it's at 8.15 right now. So it's a nice move back up there for Costco. I think they beat. I think they're going to show a strong retail consumer. Remember, Costco's consumer is wealthier than Walmart's, right? So, and Walmart reported a turnaround and bigger sales from that consumer cohort. So if you look at my family bills, you'll be seeing hundreds of dollars being spent at Costco this last little while. And I feel like the same thing is for many people out there looking to get things for the spring and summer. Costco just continues to win, man. No matter what we want to buy, Costco seems to have it and at high
qualities. All right, right now I'm just gonna get out of, as they say, out of Dodge. So I'm just gonna punch Snapchat right there. We get out on the half print at 13.5, so decent trade right there. Actually, we got 14s. We didn't even get a dark pool. So far so good there. Obviously, it's going to be a green day, and we just have now 30 seconds left to go. Big trade alert for Tesla today. Down there, here was great early, was great late. We like that. Thank you, Elon. I'll see you on the other side. But we only have 30 seconds left right now. ARM, we'll watch out for that. AMD continues its move down. We'll watch to see what NVIDIA does here into the close. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, make NVIDIA great again. Hey, you know how long that's gonna take, my guy? One day. We'll be buying NVIDIA tomorrow. Trust me on that one. Where is, I don't even see so we're gonna miss the time. There it is, the countdown's on page 1. So we'll be 5 seconds, a little bit too late. So Adara, in 3, 2, and 1, ring that bell. We is now over. The market has now closed, despite that showing 2 and 1, and there we go. So NVIDIA closes the day at 1,105. Look at NVIDIA, just dropped $10 right there. But we have earnings to go right now. So if we're ready, I'll throw it back over there. Just a couple more seconds. Is that a thumbs up to me? Thumbs up. All right, thank you so much for watching. You're about to have the best market recap show of your life. Go get them, guys. It's Adair, it's Neil. Ciao. See you guys tomorrow.
Right at the end of the day there, you did see 100% true. NVIDIA dropped back underneath 1100 right at the close. Welcome. We've got a lot of earnings to get to. I counted 9 big names there. I know you set the list of when they're coming out. I think the first we're expecting are Dell, Zscaler, Marvell, Nordstrom's as well. They're all expected at about 4 or 5, so we'll get those to you as they drop. But NVIDIA down 4.5%. The big story, all of the shorts going into the close. There was also TikTok news. Meta was down for a little bit. A lot to review. We're going to have Michael Noss stepping through as well. But wow, it's been wild. My first question, I got to ask you, did you trade any of the chips today?
I traded NVIDIA for AMD for like half a second. And I think my issue was I just kept trying to go short, maybe on things that were not. But yeah, AMD was happy with the management of it. I risked like 20 pennies, lost 20 pennies. But yeah, I took that short, I want to say, around that 165.70, maybe. No, maybe 164. I don't remember. I think it was around 164.70, maybe 164.60. But yeah, I didn't trade the chips as much as I should have. But I know there were some good opportunities on them.
Well, realistically, the end of the day was all the best ones, but you can't know that that's going to be the case.
True.
And everyone knows that Dara's got a lot of responsibilities. I mean, she put together this list that you see here. I have all the expected moves, mostly because Dara did the research, and preparing for everything in the aftermarket is going to be what it's all about. Remember, there was also Summit and Merck. Just to give you an idea what's still happening there, Summit made another break higher. It tagged $12. Sorry, check that. It tagged $12.70 in the aftermarket, so that's continuing to go. This is probably going to be a big-time runner. There's a level on the daily for Summit at $5.60. Yeah, I'm not making that up. I don't think we're going to see that again anytime soon. But it was like, I thought $5.60, but this is looking at $5.40. It doesn't really matter. It's a double up from resistance as a breakout on Summit Therapeutics. It's got a decent short float, 27%. There was a phase 3 trial that good for them, but apparently really bad for Merck. So it's only 2 minutes in here. I haven't really seen anything just yet. I'm seeing in the chat here people saying Costco's spread is wild. We're not expecting Costco till 4:15, everybody. So I think Costco is one of the later ones. It would be Dell, would be the first big one to come in. And still nothing happening on Dell. They're down 5 points today. It was not a very good day for Dell. But maybe before we get any earnings coming out here, we might as well jump into a bit of a recap.
Oh, yeah.
TAN is back.
Really?
There you go. I mean, you guys can see what had a good day today. And I've got a decent one. But TAN, yes, finally, after a little bit of a pullback, FSLR had a good day today. This is always going to be the best of the best. But it had a nice little consolidation, a bounce play. They haven't even had much of a pullback, but a lot of those solar names have been in the tank. There was a good question about IWM, and someone wanted me to go over that. KRE, which we talked about with Raider Trader, bit of a bounce play for them as well. XBI up 1.7% there as well. It's very, very green. TLT, IWM are going to be pretty good. Where you saw weakness today, Nat Gas. So I'm glad I didn't make my Tellurian play yet. I needed to set up. Down 3.5%. Silver has been a good bellwether recently. Down 2.5% as well. ARC got beaten up. And if you can't figure out why ARC had a bad day, then you weren't paying attention to UiPath.
You're not on the right path. Yeah, I was going to say with that one, if you didn't know that was what was going on there.
I need like the boom. I don't have that on my board. Because usually when you drop a pun in the midday era, when you hear that, 90% of the time that is me. That was my request. You got the puns. I'm okay, but you're at a whole another level up there. The Qs didn't have a very good day, but it's hard for the Qs to do well when we saw what happened to NVIDIA at the end of the day. And remember, it wasn't just NVIDIA. Google closed at the lows as well. Meta was closing near the lows. But we are at 405, so I'm expecting we're going to start getting some earnings through.
We got Dell.
Dell, oh boy.
Okay.
Oh boy, as Obi would say. Initial move 10% to the downside almost instantly on Dell. What do we have here? Because I'm guessing it's not going to be that good. Dell trading down 155, down 13% is Dell. Remember how big this was up going into these earnings, but it's starting to give it up here, so not looking good. MDB is also out, so Mongo is out, and it's another shellacking. 20% to the downside for Mongo. Oh my goodness, if you thought it was bad yesterday or this morning, and we had UiPath, you had, I mean, at least Foot Locker was good, but you had CRM was bad, but both these are looking pretty nasty to the downside. Marvell, I don't see it, but what are the numbers on Dell? That's the one.
Yeah, so Dell, the only miss I'm seeing here is adjusted operating income, 1.474 billion versus 1.485 billion expected. Other than that, they did slightly beat EPS, so adjusted EPS 1.27 versus 1.26 expected. Their Q1 revenue coming in here, 22.24 billion versus 21.64 billion expected, so that's also going to be beat. The only miss is a slight miss on adjusted operating income. That's all I'm seeing.
And sometimes that's all it takes, man. When you have a stock that has gone from, like at the beginning of May, Dell was $122.
That's shocking.
Like yesterday, we closed at $179. I mean, come on, like it's a 40% move, and we're not even through in 1 month, it's a 40% move going into earnings. One sign of weakness, and you can pull right back in. You're still in the money if you bought it at the open. But Mongo already to the downside. That was 20% when I last looked. But we just got Zscaler out, and morbidly, I want to know what's going on in cybersecurity land. Not morbidly, but I do own PanW shares. Zscaler is up 3%. So this was getting its butt kicked on the daily chart. I just wanted to make sure we have an idea where these things are coming from, because that's what matters more. But a little bit of a bounce here on Zscaler. That's more than, okay. I feel like that's more than, what is it, 3%? I guess because it closed here, it was down on the day. This is a 10% move bottom to top on ZS. But because this was gapped down from previous close, it's really only showing a 2% move. But that's a big move to the upside on Zscaler.
That's a good report.
So hopefully it's a good report here.
Oh yeah, I mean for Zscaler, you do have a pretty nice revenue and EPS beat. I do have to say, adjusted EPS 88 cents versus 66 cents expected. That is going to be a nice hearty beat there. In terms of what we got for revenue as well, 553.2 million versus the estimate of 535.9 million. So they beat by about $18 million for revenue.
Okay, that'll work. I mean, the way that the same thing works in the other direction with regards to like that and Dell. Like Dell was up, so they have to be perfect. Zscaler probably didn't have to do as much to get a bit of a bounce. Is Alta actually out yet? Because
I thought Alta was 410.
This is bamboozle. If it's not out, then there's some fat fingers. Just try not to be the person that punches the breakout.
Oh, they came out at
earnings.
405.
Okay, so apparently Alta is out. This makes more sense because there's like a $30 range on Alta Beauty. It went up to $398. It came down to $367, so that's a $30 range, and it's right back in the middle. So my guess is they're just trying to figure out what to do with this stock. That can be a good sign if the earnings were bad, if it's still right here. But the Alta, this was another one that came into this all beat up, so it might not take much to get it going.
Yeah, Ulta, I'm not seeing all the numbers here. One thing I'm seeing that they apparently adjusted their annual guidance as they anticipate dynamics they faced in Q1 to continue for the balance of the year. So I remember a while ago as well, Ulta did have a little bit of concerns. I think they were at some meeting and they said, hey, there could be some concerns coming up. So that's not a great look for Ulta. They're seeing 2024 comparable sales, 2% to 3%. I'm not seeing a lot of their actual numbers here, just some of their outlooks. So FY, full fiscal year 2024 operating margins, 13.4% to 14%. Yeah, they're not seeing a lot of their the details here on this Ulta, but apparently we're getting Marvell out as well, so take a look at this.
Yeah, just one thing on Ulta. Sean and I actually talked about this name. I know he likes it, but with that report, if it holds on to this bottom on the weekly after earnings, which is this 370 level, it's going to be pretty simple for me. If we hold this into next week and break 400, I want 400 long on Ulta, and that'll be a next week thing, and then I'll stop underneath 370. It'll be about 10% risk on that stock to maybe hold it back to the upside. I like that on Ulta, and as you said, we're going to have Michael Noss coming through, but last one might be Marvell here. I thought this might be worse for them. Only down, I mean, I say only, it just went down to like 71 was the low there, and the top was 77. That's not that bad. So really, we're down 1% overall. It was already getting a bit of a smackdown from the other chip names. You saw NVIDIA, you saw Micron, you saw AMD, you saw all of the chip names tanking. Intel wasn't that bad. But Marvell out and not doing too poorly. It's actually right back into 75, so it looks like it's catching a bit of a bid here. Still no Costco. Costco, I think we're getting at 415.
415 for Costco. Yeah, Marvell here, bit of a revenue miss from what I'm seeing. Q1 revenue, 1.16 billion here versus 1.17 billion expected. So that's going to be a mild miss there on revenue.
Yeah, it's only a 4% short float, but a lot of the chip names don't have. The larger chip names don't really have big short floats. That's why it's usually pretty volatile, especially when it gets a good report to the upside. This is not necessarily going to qualify, but I always feel like there's one that takes the cake, and as bad as anything else is, Mongo is taking it in the bongo right now. Down 30%. That is 2 days in a row. We have a 30% move to the downside. Yesterday and today, obviously, UiPath was down there, and Mongo getting absolutely smoked at this particular moment. So not good for MDB. Down a clean $100. Actually, 90. Oh, you guys saw it for a split second. It was down $99.99. It's now down $101. Otherwise known as 30% of a haircut. And if you think my haircut is low, then you're not watching MongoDB. Wow. Not good. Not good at all. But you know what? We can smile about something. We've got the NOS boss in here for a little bit of... Oh, I thought I'm allowed to hit it. Just give me 1 second to...
Oh, there you go.
I don't know what I hit the button. It was already going, and then I don't know what happened there, Michael. But
that's fine.
You got 3 introductions, basically, is the way it works here.
I'll take it.
It's been a little bit interesting the last couple of days for earnings. I know that's not necessarily as a swing trader and a technical trader, the mess and the nonsense. And we had a guest on today, and we were just talking about like the ridiculous moves that we've seen on earnings. Sometimes that's not the place to be, and you want to be into something when they calm down. Like I can't imagine any technical trader looking at swings that you see on Mongo down 30% and UiPath down 30% and Kava going from down 10% to up 15%. When they settle down, they provide you with interesting information. But day trade, great. I imagine for a swing trader, you're in wait mode on any of those.
Yeah, and it's, I'm going to avoid any binary event that I can, not just earnings. If I know there's a FDA release or a big product or an investor day or something like that, I just kind of want to stay out, because as someone who, looks at algorithms and technical patterns, things like that, I'm trying to trade the 99% of, quote unquote, normal situations and then avoid these events, because it's not that as a technical person, I don't believe fundamentals move stocks. We know that fundamentals move, everything at the end of the day. But it's just the fact that I can't predict fundamentals, so I just have no business in getting involved there. So, yeah, I'll come back in at least 3 days after earnings report and then see how price reacted to it, and kind of let the people who do the math and look at all of those numbers decide what the price direction is going to be, and then I'll just kind of ride their coattails.
Analysts analyze, traders trade. It's no
Exactly.
different from, I watch a baseball game in there, and they always have, you got two people in the booth, right? And like the two people calling the game, one of them's usually like a former player, and they're going to understand the ins and outs and what are the players going through, what's the strategy in here and there. And then you're going to have the actual play-by-play person who's just, great, usually like experienced in radio, whatnot. You got to stay in your lane. I love that about you, Michael. You're always kind of calm, knowing exactly what you want to get to, which leads me to, okay, so if we're not talking earnings, I know you're looking at something. You always have something brewing for us. So what is the look right now?
So it was funny when I was on, wouldn't have been this Monday, would have been last Monday with Sean in the After Hours show. I was talking about the Dow, and I have the Dow up here as well. And I actually got some comments, and it's funny, the kids, I guess I'm an old man now, so I can't put myself with the kids, the new kids that are trading. They're like, who cares about the Dow? It's all about the NASDAQ and all these really hype names. But us old folks and us technical analysts, we like to look at the Dow. So last Monday would have been right on this candle here before this sell-off day. And I mentioned I am shorting the Dow because it may be giving us warning signs, and it was very relatively weak to the rest of the market. For those who don't know, the Dow is a industrial index. It has more of the quote unquote boomer stocks. So you're talking financials, and has more energy and things like that in it. And it just kind of completely fell apart, giving me a clear warning that when things aren't agreeing, when you're seeing the Qs up and the Dow down, that it's time to maybe not, worry or sell everything, but it's time to take notice. So I put this Dow hedge on, and so far it's working phenomenally. So now what I'm trying to look for is what isn't selling. So Dow was relatively weak, so I wanted to short that. So now my hunting and pecking is trying to say, okay, now that the market is catching up and the SPY is barely holding on to this range, you notice how when the Dow broke this the March-April highs, it fell apart. We've broken now, and we've closed below this on the SPY. Not saying that that's going to follow, but it has me more interested in finding things that aren't selling off and relative strength, just in case the SPY follows the Dow on this one.
Yeah, I think you've got the right approach there. I know some people, we joke about the Dow and how relevant it may or may not be, but it still matters whether you like it or not. And I think it's a great signal for you. Just before we move on here, Costco earnings are out. It's not much of a move for everyone paying attention to it. It's actually flat compared to yesterday's close, and trading a little bit lower here on Costco. It's not a huge move by any stretch of the imagination. I would consider this to be sometimes a relatively strong stock, but not a nasty move into the downside yet on Costco. But you've already seen a few names get shellacked that are, I don't know, do we call them best of breed in their group. I always like to say that you always have something. If you're trading a sector, or if you're trading a stock, there's always something that I'm keying in on. In addition to maybe I'm looking at a SMH if I'm trading NVIDIA. Maybe I'm looking at NVIDIA if I'm trading Marvell or AMD or something along those lines. And I think what you want to have is like what's relatively strong, what's relatively weak. And that's been very, very important recently as NVIDIA has been giving it up. And if you think about that level on the SPY, NVIDIA just gave back 5% today. So like you always want things for confirmation. I know that might not be your bag, but I know when I'm trading, if I can line up 2 or 3 reasons why I really like something, especially for a pullback in the overall market, I don't love it if NVIDIA is holding the market up. And the fact that actually gave up 1,100, I think, can be a bit of a big deal. Do you, I know you're talking about the SPY in there, but how much do you pay attention to any of the individual big names? I'm talking specifically about the Apples of the world, the NVIDIAs, the Microsofts. Like when they're holding things up, would you back off a trade saying, we're still getting strength in these names?
It's to the point where, it's very, in my opinion, is very important. You can't have a single theme or a single security holding up the market. You just, for the long run, you can't. So earlier in the year, we saw NVIDIA doing amazing, and then that started to drag up the entire market with it. Now we see most of the market actually falling, and NVIDIA is just kind of holding us up. So when you see things like you saw today, where NVIDIA gives up a bit, so does the whole market. And the way that I demonstrate this most is the chart I have up here, which is the RSP. So the RSP is an equal weighted index. So this has the exact same names in it as the S&P 500. All same 500 names are the same, except instead of weighting it based off how large the company is, every single stock gets an equal weight. So this gives you a really good idea of what the average S&P 500 stock is doing. And you can see where I mentioned that we broke these March, April highs on the SPY, and then we just fell back earlier today and closed below them. Now you can see if I look at this one, we never even got to those prior highs on the RSP before we've now sold off. So that just shows us that it was the mega caps were holding us up. And what you hope is that it's okay for a leadership group to take the lead like that, but you hope it brings the rest of the team with you, to use a sports analogy, right? You don't want one guy on your team doing all the work, but it's okay to have some star players that are leading the rest. But if it's everyone's dragging that person down, then when that person can no longer, score all of the baskets or the goals or whatever, then the whole team's going to fall apart. And that's kind of what I think we're seeing here, is that unless the rest of the market can kind of find its footing and push a little bit higher, then I think we may be in for just a little bit of trouble. Primary trend still intact. I'm talking, maybe over the next week or so.
Exactly. And look, I love that you bring up that equal weight, because I feel like it's the one. There are a few things in the toolbox for a lot of traders that not everybody even looks at. And I know that's one that's getting a little bit more importance, because specifically what that Mag 7 or whatever we're calling it these days, what's been happening with that concentration the last couple of years. So there's a little bit more attention to the equal weight, but it's a really important indicator. And that's especially weak. What you pointed out there, when you're holding a level, but it's not even getting there the second time. It's a lower high, but it's a consolidation, and then it fails underneath. Obviously, the only thing better than that for a reversal, in my estimation, is if it traps people breaking the top, because that's almost like the golden one. Like if there's just that one wick that trapped people on the breakout, and then it does it, those are golden reversals. So I think you're onto something there. Just for everyone, Gap did come out, and Gap is up 20%. So
Gapping up.
Gap is gapping to the upside right now, because why not? We're going to have retail names doing ridiculous things in this earnings season. Every single day, there's one retail name up 20% and there's one down 20%, which is always fun for a day trader. But this is exactly why, Michael, you let the analysts analyze, because if you try to make sense of this, I haven't read the numbers on Gap, but I promise you that there's almost no chance this is a fundamental thing. It's a 15% short flow, and it's up 20% because there was something to like, and more importantly, there was something for shorts to fear. So if we're getting a market pullback, I know you talk about this all the time in terms of catalysts. You always look at heavily shorted names. Now, this is a 20%, 15% short flow, and it's running. We've seen a few in this earnings season with that same thing. I'm putting you on the spot here because I know you've given us your ideas already, and I tend to do this to you, which is put you on the spot. Is there anything, we saw GameStop try to run again today. We've seen a lot of short floats go. We saw Summit with the Merck news. That was up like a bajillion%, and that had a 27% short flow. Is there anything short squeezable that might be on your radar for the next couple of days and weeks? Because I just feel like there's one or two a day that are going for our traders.
Nothing that I see right now, other than I was looking at this MindMed the other day, simply because it was up when the market was down. Because I think that's what you need to look at when you're looking for short float names, right? So for example, we had MSOS up today, even though the market was down, and some of these cannabis names are heavily shorted as well. MindMed is psychedelic, so maybe kind of in the same genre. But the idea is that you need something for the shorts to be worried about. So if you look at, and I hate to pick on AMC, but I always do. If you look at AMC, the high of this was $600 a share, and now it's $4. The shorts here are not worried. The stock has to go up 1,000% before they would even be worried about maybe covering some shares. So when you're looking for short float names, you have to look for short float names that are up near highs. So what I'm doing a lot of when the market sells off like it did today and it did the other day, and you have these down days, is the easiest scan you can do in the world without getting too fancy is just say, okay, what was up today, right? The SPY was down. What was up? And you can start to go through some of these lists. Like if we take a look again, MSOS, you can see right here at the top showing absolute relative strength to the S&P 500 today. I know there's a lot of names in the cannabis sector that are heavily shorted, so that's where I'll go to look. So if you are looking for short float names, I would just load up your trade ideas. If you don't have it, make sure you're using TraderTV20 for 20% off at checkout, and make sure that you're just saying, I want anything that's up today or up over the last week or so that is heavily shorted, and I'm sure you'll find some good looking names. But for me, again, that's all I'm doing is what is not selling off when the market's selling off, rank that by short float and see what pops out.
Yeah, and MSOS there, CGC reported they're up 2% today, 16% short float. It's got higher lows on the daily. But you mentioned MNMD. I don't think that's not bad at all. I don't remember specifically off the top of my head the news. I know there was something this week with them, which can matter for a catalyst. But where it just bounced, you had the chart up for a second. I just wanted to show this again. On earnings, it's bouncing off of $8. So at post earnings, it's bouncing off $8 and had already made a move up 10% into $8.90. If I was short that stock, okay, well, you've already been scared when it broke 8 the first time. It pulls back and you're like, yeah, now it's in a downtrend. Ha, 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 shorts are winning again. If this gets back above $9 or $10, especially breaking this 50, that is the kind of catalyst I could get interested in, as you highlight, like 22% short float. So relatively strong. It's down 1% today, but it already moved 10% the last couple of days upside. So I think it gets a little bit of a pass. I think it's a good look, and I love that scan. When you see big moves or you have an idea, the first thing to do isn't necessarily to just, oh, what did I trade last time? What do I like? It's to actually do the diligence and go through not everything that makes sense. If you're looking for short float, maybe you say anything above 15% that was flat today or whatever, up 0.5% or up 1%, depending on what you want to look at. Maybe you want to have a volume scan as well, and then you go from there. And you can do that with trade ideas.
Yeah, and it's when you're looking at things that are heavily shorted, it's always just put yourself, just like you did there, Neil. I think that's absolutely perfect, where you have to put yourself in the short's shoes and say, if I'm short this stock, is there anything out there that's going to make me want to cover? So with that, MindMed had that 10% pop yesterday when the market was flat to down. So that makes me go, okay, well, the overall strength on this name is good, and that whatever it was occurred. You guys know I'm not paying attention to the news, but if I'm short, that's getting me a little bit nervous. And while you were talking, I just brought up one of my favorite short float scans that I have here, and I'm looking at this NVAX. I'm sure you guys were probably all over this. Every time I see a candle with giant intraday ranges like this, I can just bet that you guys were over this from a day trading point of view. And I'm looking at this the same way. So this has gone from $5 now to $15. We show a 32% short float that updates every 2 weeks. Officially, we get it right from the stock exchange data. So, unless all of those have covered, that to me makes me nervous. The stock has tripled off of its lows. Even if I'm short from way back when this was, $200 a share before its collapse, if I see something triple, then I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's time to push the button. So I take a look at something like this and I see, oh, that's a nice kind of coiling pattern around $15 or so. If we get a break, maybe that goes from there. And then I do just what you did. I put myself in that trader's shoes. I say, well, this absolute high of 1750, probably a lot of stops up there. So if we can get a move like that, those are the kind of things I look at from a short point of view. Again, I think you hit the nail on the head. You just say, okay, let me imagine that I'm short this name. When am I getting nervous? Or more importantly, when is the broker calling me with that dreaded margin call?
Yeah, which nobody ever wants to get that. But thankfully, I've never had one in my life. But I don't short stocks in my personal trading account. I only do it as a day trader on a prop floor. I think that's just a safe way to go about it. But as always, Love the knowledge, Michael, and we appreciate you coming through on a bit of short notice. We kind of called you up in the middle of the afternoon show and said, hey, can you come on? We'd like to talk about what we saw here today. So some great ideas, and as always, check out Michael Moss on the X Machine, as we're supposed to be calling it. You can see down below, and check out Trade Ideas for some fantastic scanners. I use them on a daily basis. Everybody on the show does.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, and I'm actually going to put together my presentation for tomorrow. So make sure you're tuned in tomorrow morning too, and I'll be talking about something. We'll figure out what that is.
That's right, 8:45 tomorrow morning. Michael Moss will be on the morning show to prepare for another great trading day and trading week. Thank you very much, Michael. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning. It's going to be another wild one for sure.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Oh goodness, thank you so much. And it's what's so great about it. What's so great about this, Adair, is like there's so much happening. Like I know I wanted to do some trade review, and we're gonna talk. There's so much we could have talked about, but I want to get back to Costco because it was the one that reported, obviously, like right during the interview. Costco is only down 0.4%, but there was a $30 move top to bottom, I should say, because it was to the downside. It's leveling off a little bit. In the grand scheme of things, Costco not really putting much of a dent. So anybody hoping to buy the dip on Costco, like you can squint. I don't think that's gonna cut it. So that one doesn't have the distance, but the numbers on Costco quickly here, if you have Madeira.
So they're actually not bad from what I'm seeing. Q3 pre-tax profit here coming 2.28 bill versus 2.23 bill expected. That would be a beat. Q1 net income 1.68 bill versus 1.65 bill expected. That is also going to be a beat. They also, they beat on quarterly revenue as well, 58.52 billion versus 58.07 billion expected. They're basically saying that there's strong grocery demand, so I'm not seeing a lot of negativity here in this report.
Okay, well, not a lot of negativity is not going to do it if you want to dip into 750, which is probably the price a lot of people are looking at, the 50-period moving average on the daily on Costco. So it's been ugly. MongoDB got absolutely smoked. DELL is still trading much lower, down 17%. I feel like it was down 20 a second ago and only down a slight bounce in DELL. Down 17%. It's Mongo that got really smoked. Nasty to the downside for them, 30% at the absolute bottom. So it's going to be another wild one tomorrow. Marvell wasn't all that bad, but you know what time it is. It's 4:30. Let's get a little roll call action, everybody. Big shout out to the NOS boss for stepping through. Thank you for all the love in the chat for him. And as we always do, let's start it off by thanking the two people that I should every single time. Adair for getting all of the news for us, preparing the aftermarket show, especially when I step in for Sean, because I don't do it on a daily basis. Right? I'm not in the flow of things as well. So thank you, Adair, for getting us prepped for this. Thank you to Bears versus Bulls. We love you, brother. Have a great one. It's been a great show. It's been a great week. We'll do it again tomorrow. The best moderator in all of YouTube. Big shout out to Rivian Millionaire with some nice words as yet. And if you could, Rivian Millionaire is asking for the DELL actual numbers.
I'm typing them in the chat for them right now, so that you're going to be getting those in 2 seconds. I just sent them in the chat.
See, look at this. It's like already answering the question before we can even get to it. She reads minds, everybody. That's how it does. How do you think the puns are so good? She knows.
Well, I saw it in the chat, and I was like, you know what, even if we don't get a chance to read it, I'll like type it out. There
you were typing before I had read it. So clearly, I mean, you've got young eyes. I'm an old man. I probably, somehow magically, I just didn't even see it for like a full minute, I'm guessing.
Well, I was tagged on it too, so it was like, I saw the orange, and I was like, oh. But yeah, no, I'm just always happy to be here and happy to answer whatever questions I can.
That's what it's all about here. So let's get this roll call started. Rivian Millionaire, we got you. Michelle Meir, Rivian Millionaire. Wow, he just said thank you as well. So we'll make sure we got that in there. We got Monty G in the house. Nelio Frigilio. I like that for sure. D-Loaf, Luke, Be Fair Balance, Lava, Judge, Palantir tomorrow. Let's go Palantir. How many times have Sean and I both been along in Palantir? It's been a while and it was a great one. Caputi electronic music producer. Shout out to you. I bungled that, but it's all good. Andrew Chow, Mr. Westermeyer, well done to you as well, brother. Hans Beer, let's roll. Trader Buck, Monty, we got you. Dave, oh, I just missed a couple in there. Dave, Nick Chimo, Captain Jane, we got Elon, we got Jobu Sam. I love me some Jobu from Major League. That is my favorite, not real character, but kind of a character. If you haven't seen the movie, watch it, Adara. S. Samuel, Kathy Trollinger, TH, Alt Styles. We got Alaric B, Chuck of all trades, Kasim Palat, TH, Alvin, Monty G again, Daniel, Big, Kyle Burdett. Oh, Kyle, you must have loved the shorts in the afternoon.
Oh.
That couldn't have been bad for you. Cal, if you didn't print, then you're not a short trader. Disc Drive, Neo Roberts. I like that one.
Oh,
I don't know if that's
nice.
your real name, but I'll take it. Midnight, Scan QR, Buy the Dips, Hoddle. Great name. Howard28, Philip Sanchez. We got Selena Martin's in the house, Lion Dog, Trader Drew, Ray, Dwayne Diesel, Daryl Frinch. Let's go. It's been a hot minute since we talked to you. You're Huckleberry. I'm your Huckleberry right there. My favorite movie villain of all time. Well, not really a villain. Character of all time is Doc Holliday. The single best, and I'm going to stop for a minute here.
Okay.
The single best performance by almost anybody in any movie I've ever seen is Val Kilmer in Tombstone as Doc Holliday. And what's crazy about it is he's done two of the greatest performances, I think, of like a secondary character. He stole the show as Iceman in Top Gun, and he stole the show in Tombstone as Doc Holliday, and he was absolutely brilliant in that movie.
He's a good actor.
If you've never seen it, my goodness, Tombstone is
watch
absolutely
it.
unbelievable. So shout out to everybody in the chat. We love you guys, and it's been a fun day of trading.
Oh, yeah.
Earnings were wild. I'm glad that Adara does the watch list because you've got your work cut out for you tomorrow.
Yeah, I was literally thinking about this. Like, also, just a quick little inside scoop. So in case you're wondering why some earnings names make the watch list every day and some don't, I go based on volume. I'm entirely based on volume. So we'll have to see what volume we get tomorrow because that will be determining what we get. Also, I want to shout out Ramin. Thank you so much for staying late with us. Ramin here, killing it every single day. And also shout out to Fabian as well, our whole production team. Also, Bears vs. Bulls saying that apparently Mustache did make the top 5 tickers today.
Well, then why didn't we do it? Okay, see, I have an issue with this. We're gonna end the show in a second.
Yeah, I just had to say
We
that.
finally made Mustache a thing, and then we don't cover Mustache. We can't tell people, and I'm being serious. We can't tell people we will cover whatever you put in there, and then Mustache wins, and we don't go over the Mustache in the afternoon show. So I think that was a fail. I think the beard, I'm a beard over mustache for Sharif guy. He looks great either way. But it's a lot of fun. We try to have a little bit of fun here. And of course, thank you to the entire team. Thank you to everybody. We're right back at it tomorrow, where hopefully MongoDB stops falling and Dell can catch a little bit of a bid. It's more fun when stocks go up. Oh, yeah. We're Trader TV Live. We'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8:30 for more earnings plays.
See you guys.